The clear, like the clear frame sunglasses. I gotta get me a pair of those ones. Kind of, I like the way they looked, but yeah, I gotta get a nice pair. And I like yours as well. Like kind of, you're staring at the screens the whole day.
Yes.
You need some like relief from the fatigue as well. So those definitely help. And nice little shade.
They are great.
Orange. They're pretty solid. Yeah.
It just hit 11 o'clock. So just the last thing I'm gonna before we throw you guys to the midday, there was that other pop and fade. I did go right back in NVIDIA. That same pop and fade idea goes into 101, can't break it out, go into the short. It doesn't quite get to 99 this time, but if we break down here 98.5, I'm thinking VWAP all the way on this, and then look for a re-entry somewhere else. And while that was happening, I couldn't get it. I wasn't fast enough to get into Coinbase. That's the best way to put it. But I'm eyeballing this now new trend. Just put it to where it made the double bottom. The last two shorts I did have. If it loses 188, I don't mind shorting it in that range. So keep it clean, everybody. Keep your trades as clean as possible. It's a wild one. That last reversion might have been the best one here as the market is starting to dump back in. Time for a little learn to trade. We got Adara, we got the professor. We'll be back at 2. Time to learn to trade, everybody.
I pity the fool that doesn't hit the like and subscribe button.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as that Midday Show. That is your girl Adara, and I'm Sharif. And what a day on these markets. I hope everybody's trading safely because it's a crazy one out there. We're going to wait for everyone to come on over from the other stream before we start shutting them out and doing the old roll call there. We already have Scott H. Big day. Made $14,500 trading UVXY. LF ... Yes, Scott H. Shout out to you. We got Matt Booth, we got Saman, we got Pons, we got Big Asian. Okay. Cesar Sandoval, we got Ross. What's up, my man? Ross, Day Trader Cut, Andrew Chow. We got Ronaldo, who's back. We got Cass M. Trader Drew, Mr. Jonathan joining us as well. Hey, Davis. So is Chelsea Ashley. Big Adam DeLu. Shout out to London, North London specifically. Yo L. Reyna. We got Covalence, Juan Padilla, David Beach. We got Benson, TH. We got Justin Swearingen, Bright Awakening, Berto, Trader Lay, David, Oscar Plays, 4XA. You and Alaric B. Lots of people joining us. Good morning, Adair.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm good. You know, nice weekend. How about yourself?
It's good. I slept a lot this weekend, as I am often doing. So I guess normal kind of weekend in that regard. But also, I guess normal for me. Took Tesla, took an L. I want to talk about this because I'm disappointed in myself, not because it's a losing trade, but it's because it's like I abandoned all of my Tesla rules. So if you guys recall, I've made some new rules for Tesla, which are trading being led by the book and also trying to look at different time frames, including the 1 minute on my side chart. So to be fair to myself, we were holding decently at 197.50 in the book, but I'd be lying if the main impetus for this trade was not this beautiful 197 support on the 5-minute chart and the 90 MA bounce. But it's like Adara, look at the 1 minute. Look at all these topping tail candles on the 1 minute. You know what I mean? And I'm just disappointed. I didn't get out as quickly as I wanted to. Should have been trusting the book. It's all good, baby. Not a dream right now, but always ready for some new opportunities because when you fall, you get back up.
All right. Yeah, you're good to go, Fabian. All right, let's look quickly here at the side chart before we introduce the lesson for the day. As you can see, we're recovering on a lot of these names, but still decidedly in red territory, no matter which Mag 7 name you're looking at. I'm looking at my chips watch list as well. There is only one name on the chips, microchips right now, that's actually green. It goes by the name of AMD, but it got shellacked last week off weak earnings. So we'll get to those in a minute. I just want to show the charts. I'm very interested in some of the ranges here that are being established on some of these names, but we'll get to these and many others. Here are some of the small cap gappers, and they're not even really small cap gappers. I mean, there's only a couple of them that really qualify under that heading. MGOL, maybe PW, OKYO. The rest are really other names that I'm looking at. So we'll keep tabs on these ones. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend, and I hope you guys are all ready for the lesson du jour, because we're talking about earnings today. We're not going to really, go into any specific type of trades for for these earnings names, but I think it really behooves us, especially for the newer viewers, to understand what these earnings are all about, what some of the acronyms that we often hear during earnings season mean, and just get a general overall understanding of why earnings is important and how to kind of pursue it. So today will be the first day of many with respect to this earnings lesson. So let's get right to it. Understanding earnings report. A powerful earnings surprise can send shockwaves throughout the market, causing dramatic price movements, even, an upside or downside surprise. It goes both ways. Understanding these earnings reports absolutely is key to navigating these volatile waters. So let's get right to it. So what is an earnings report? I'm willing to bet most of us know what this is, but we always have newer viewers coming in. So an earnings report is essentially a financial snapshot of a company's performance over a specific period of time, typically a quarter. So we do this 4 times a year on every quarter, okay? Every company's fiscal quarter starts a little bit differently. So you need to make sure you understand that. It doesn't go with the calendar year. It's like the quarterly checkup, this earnings report of a business, revealing its health, revealing its growth and its future prospects. So essentially, you're going for a doctor's checkup there. These reports are like the lifeblood for the financial markets as they influence investor sentiment and either drive stocks higher or lower or stay the same, obviously. So when we get these analysts who are basing their assessments on for earnings, they are doing it based on the data that they're able to glean from financial reports, and otherwise just let me know, okay?
Yeah.
All right, so here is a typical earnings report. We're not going to go through the entire.
We're
good
to go, yeah. Now, sorry.
We're not going to go through the entire thing, but before we do that, we have a read.
Yeah, thank you so much to PIA.com, VPN ad read. Sorry, I read the wrong part there. Trading on public Wi-Fi is risky. Your data is vulnerable, like sharing secrets in a group chat. Private internet access, or PIA VPN, secures your connection with encryption, creating a safe tunnel for your data. Trade confidently from from airports, coffee shops, or hotels without worrying about hackers. PIA also lets you bypass geo restrictions, accessing trading platforms from over 91 countries and all 50 U.S. states. Protect your trading with PIA, but also protect your trading by learning about earnings reports.
Yeah, that's right. So here is, a very rudimentary screenshot of an earnings report. The reason I want to show you this is that there's 2 numbers specifically that we need to worry about. It's the top line and the bottom line. The top line just means the total amount of revenue, sometimes referred to as sales. It doesn't always get referred to like that, revenue. How much money from everything the company is bringing in. You're going to see that reflected on the top line. They want to show you exactly how well they're doing right on the first line. Then below all of that, you're going to get all the different expenses, the different things we don't need to talk about for our specific purposes right now. And then the next figure you need to know is the bottom line. How much money are they taking home? Net profit. Sometimes it's expressed in earnings per share. You don't need to express it like that. That's just a metric. Net profit, revenue, those are the top line, the bottom line. So when you hear people talk about top line, they're talking about sales, they're talking about revenue. When they're talking about the bottom line, it's how much of that revenue, after all your expenses, taxes, deductions, all the different things that you've got to fork up for, how much money you're taking home. Top line, bottom line, okay? Let's, sorry about that. Let's just move on to the next topic. Yes, so now, we talked about top line, we talked about bottom line. Now, these are the key components of the earnings report. First, we're going to talk about earnings per share. I kind of just alluded to this. This is basically the definition, the technical definition is the net income, the amount of take-home money divided by the number of outstanding shares. That's all. That's when we say EPS, we're talking about the net profit divided by the amount of outstanding shares that are being traded on the public markets. So if you have a negative EPS, it's because you had negative profit. You lost on the quarter, on the year, whatever time frame you're talking about. And then you divide that by the amount of outstanding shares, you get a negative EPS. If you printed positive amount of profit, then you're going to have a positive EPS. So technically, the definition of EPS is the net income divided by the number of outstanding shares. This is essentially a measure of the company's profitability on a per share basis. Think of it as a company's profit essentially divided by or divided amongst its shareholders, and a higher EPS generally indicates better financial performance. So earnings per share, you'll hear that a lot. Revenue, just kind of finished waxing poetic to use an Adair term about this. This is the total income a company generates from all its business operations, sometimes expressed in the word sales. It's the top line of the income statement, as I just finished telling you. And strong revenue growth typically is viewed as a positive indicator. But you could have things like Amazon in the late 90s where they just kept growing and growing and growing, but they weren't profitable. So there is that whole philosophy that's a little bit different. We're not going to get into that. Guidance, another one you hear talked about a lot when we talk about earnings. So this is the management, the company's management. It's their forecast for the future performance of the company, including expected revenue and expected earnings. It essentially sets out the expectations for investors and can significantly impact the stock's price because a lot of analysts will base their price per share on it, how much they value the company at. So when a company beats or misses guidance, it can lead to significant market reactions. And how many times have you heard Adair and I, Neil, Sean, Obi, Brendo, everybody say, they beat on the top and bottom line, but the guide was light. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about there. The company's future projections, the company's management's future projections came in light. So what are the impact of some of these earnings reports? Earnings reports can cause significant volatility in the stock price. If you don't believe me, just go ahead and have a look at Meta's last earnings report. A positive earnings surprise can lead to sharp price increases in the stocks. Conversely, a negative surprise can cause a sharp decline. Understanding the components of an earnings report is absolutely crucial for making informed investment decisions, not so much maybe trading decisions, although there is a school of thought that likes to mix the fundamentals with the technicals. Depends on what you want to be. And here I brought the Meta chart on here to show you two different earnings moves. You have the January earnings move for, I guess, maybe Q1. I'm not sure how their fiscal year works. You get a big boy jump. You get that breakthrough 400. We make all-time highs after that. And then conversely, in the April report, when for whatever reason it didn't go as well as planned, I know we had another earnings report in June, or excuse me, in July, but this is the one that I'm talking about right here, the earnings miss that we got in the spring that we got from like 520 all the way down to 400. We defended that 400 number. So you get an outlying one to the high side, an outlying one to the downside, and you'll typically see outsized moves on the chart. And you also need to look at the volume because typically the day of earnings or the day subsequent to earnings, you'll have outsized amount of volume. So that's usually typically a way we can kind of gauge that was a volumes day. But on platforms like TradingView, for example, you can have earnings kind of denoted on the chart. And if you click it, it'll show you, the beat or the miss, what the expectation or the consensus in the street was versus how they actually did. So earnings, super important, just kind of getting our feet wet a little bit today with respect to earnings. And tomorrow, hopefully, Adair will get a little bit more nuanced with it.
Yeah, I'm so excited to learn more about these learnings about earnings this week. And I think it's a very apt time to do it. I want to shout out Sharif, as always, for preparing the lessons and putting everything together. I had a quick SPY scalp here, only my second trade of the day. Took an L on it, but compared to the Tesla, like night and day in terms of the execution, I'm proud of what I did here. Basically, I got long the SPY as we broke above 520. I watched this break above 520, retest, come back down, then pop back up. So I've seen it a couple times. I was like, okay, cool. I get long like just above 520. The highest we can get while I'm involved is like 520.30. Then we back down below. The next time that we break below 520 and can't break back above it, like Adair, you got to get out here. If you don't get out here, things are looking bad in the book. Get out. I got out at 88s. We have not seen 88s again since I got out, so I did take like a 15-cent hit on this. Happy though with the way I executed it. I trusted myself in the book. That is something I did not do with Tesla. And that's what the type of trading I need to be doing going forward. Speaking of key level breaks, I missed Tesla 200, which is something I did want. You look away for 1 second and then Tesla's like, hey, already did that. So shout out to anyone who had that. That was quite the little trade. This is a market that I'm still trying to figure out how I feel comfortable trading it. I've been using my jazz piano analogy for these markets, and I think that's been kind of a helpful way for me to look at it. This is like trying to play, step into like, a jam session here with like Duke Ellington, Bill Evans, Etta James, way out of my league, not experienced enough, but I'm ready to watch, I'm ready to wait, and I'm ready to strike. Will the iron is hot? Should it be hot at certain moments? I do like this Tesla on the 5-minute. I like the 199 area, but as I said with Tesla, I'm trying to get more adept, I guess, at scalping it off the 1-minute chart. So 5-minute will be my guide, but 1 minute will be my rule. Seeing a bit of topping tail candles still around this 201. If we come back, bounce 199, which is also a level I don't mind on the 1 minute, and I'll pull it up here. I'm okay with that. But if there's any stocks you have levels on that you're looking at, that you're interested in, and you're like, hey, what would Opie and Neil have to say about it? Go to that chat, exclamation point, join, space, $, whatever ticker you want to look at. This segment is brought to you by our lovely sponsors and friends there at Real Trading, so check them out. That is for sure. And check out this segment because we want to bring back stuff for the people. What are you looking at for today?
I'm looking at Taiwan Semiconductor right now because it's one hell of a recovery here on TSM, and I've identified a level that I like at 150. And right now it's topping out at 147.87. It's just a matter of how I get in here. So I'm looking for either a 10 exponential on the 5 retracement that would bring me down to around currently 145 1/3, but 145 1/2 looks like the better level. If I was to switch to the 1 minute and try to get a bit more aggressive with my entry and look to get in on the 10 exponential, the 1 minute 10 exponential is at 146 2/3, 146 1/2. We're retracing about $1 now off that almost 148 touchdown into 147s. This has been quite a consistent ascent, even when it was consolidative. It was predictably consolidative, essentially with a 144 high, and it actually put in higher lows, which is quite bullish, but it had a 141 1/2 low, but that low kept coming up. And this consolidation period essentially lasted from 10 until we broke out through that level at 11. So about an hour worth of consolidation here on Taiwan Semi, coming back into the 147 area now. I like this name just because it's got a clear area of definition here that it can reject off. The closing print from Friday is 150. We've touched 148. It's just a matter of how I work my way in. I'm not going to punch in at highs, but this one looks awfully good right now. CrowdStrike, I think you mentioned this one when you were doing Sector Watch, how ironically it was funny despite the market getting shellacked. $222.5 is the high of day. Beautiful looking double bottom here off a key area of technical, previously resistance, now support. That 215 area, we crashed and burned right that 945 area. We couldn't get through that. That was until about 5 to 10. Then we come back and we defend 215. So far on the day, 215 is holding after getting that level broken. I believe 17 or 218 is the closing print from Friday. So we're zigging and zagging at that price right now. So good look there. I've got some other names on here just to keep an eye on some stuff. AMD, I mentioned, was the only microchip name that was actually positive on the day. That has changed. So ASML is now positive. AMAT is now positive. Qualcomm is now positive. So AMD up 3%, the biggest of the green names in microchip world on the day, but it's no longer the only one. So keep in my eye on this one. MGOL was one that I had my eye on earlier for small cap gapper, since giving up the ghost, coming into a key area of support earlier. That 3.5 held earlier on. I'm not really going to take this unless above the pre-market high. There's just so much other stuff going on. I don't need to, look at these more obscure names. So keeping an eye on some of these names. I'm noticing 213 acting as a bit of a resistance level here on Apple. Tesla's dancing with 200. It's breached it on occasions, getting up almost into 202. But when you actually look at the price action, there's been very little time spent actually above 200. So that's an interesting look here on Tesla. If this manifests into a double top, that 195 break would be quite interesting there, because both touches are generally in that high 201 areas, with the one coming here at 1110 being a little bit higher than that previous one. So Tesla looks interesting from a possible rejection perspective. 400 also in play on Microsoft. You had multiple attempts. Look at this 5-minute look here. 3 topping tail candles now on MSFT exactly at 400. We haven't even had a 401 print. All 3 of these candles have rejected off that 400 area. I'm not saying it's going to continue. I'm just saying that there is something right now to keep an eye on, which is MSFT. And I got to tell you, Microsoft's recovering quite well. I got to say, Google and Microsoft and Meta, of course, recovering a little bit better than some others. I was expecting Microsoft to be kind of in the same league as damage as NVIDIA, given how much they've really relied on AI lately, but that is not the look. With respect to the future, we're above 18,000 by some distance here. We almost got into 18,001 and a quarter, 3/4, excuse me. So we'll see if we can maintain our level about 18,000, but it's really going to about getting something off a pullback, off a moving average that I can base my trade on, Adair.
Yeah, I tried to take a Tesla scalp there at that 200 area. And this one, not a winning trade, but happy I had the conviction to take it. Chunk chunk. And I want to talk about it because, so I took it with more size. I watched us at that 220 cent level. We got there, we held it as support beautifully, but we couldn't break. When we broke below, then we got kind of choppy and churny. I got it at 200 for the short, said, hey, if we get back to $200.20 in a significant way, get out. That's what ended up happening after a bit of waffling. I got out. I need to be a lot more cognizant about the trades I am taking today because, definitely, like I said, this is my first time. I've come in today and Neil's like, hey, it's your first Black Monday. Indeed it is. And so I want to make sure that I'm trading it appropriately, but I still want to be able to, to survive and thrive and live to see another day. I had a good week last week, but each week is on its own merit. Thank you, I appreciate that. I do not want to be resting on my laurels. Shout out to Olympics, Olympic laurels, I don't know. But you want to make sure you are, learning and growing every single day. And if there's something that can help you with that, I know it is our sponsor here. Shout out to Sharif for giving us this ad read, and shout out to Bazinga.
Oh, yeah, I'm just trying to get out. There we go. All right, guys, are you tired of being late to the trade? Are you always playing catch up in the market? I just allow me a moment. I thought you were going to put it up, baby, but I can do it too, baby. I got fingers. There we go. Here we are. Are you tired of being late to the market, missing out on the big moves because you're too slow to the news? Well, Benzinga Pro is your unfair advantage. Get breaking news alerts up to 30 minutes before everyone else and pinpoint exactly why stocks are moving, and join a thriving community of traders who share their strategies in real time. Are you ready to see how Benzinga Pro can transform your trading? If so, visit benzinga.com/pro and get yourself that free 14-day trial today. I personally use Benzinga, and I know that they are, by the way, guys, I got to tell you a personal story. I used to actually message them directly for assistance and how to use different things, and quite quick are they in responding. So if you're into that kind of thing, especially if you're a newer trader, you don't know really how to use these scanners, these watch lists, they're quite good with assistance. So just give that some food for thought. Watching Apple, 213, lucky number 13 in play here, Fabian, as we come up into that level. A good recovery off the lows of this morning. 196 technically is the low on the day, but I think we actually printed a little bit lower in the pre-note. 196 is exactly the low on the day, and now 213 coming into play here. I can't believe the kind of volatility we're getting. I wanted to punch 213 long. I said, well, no, I'm not going to punch 213 until it comes into my 211 level, because I wanted that 211 defend. It may not be that kind of a day. If you're going to get long, maybe here you're going to actually have to get in at the highs, because it's just not giving me an opportunity to get in on a pullback. So 213 gets cleared here as we look at that $0.50 level now. 213 $0.50 as the high of day. How do we weasel our way in? Do we weasel in at that 213 pop and defend, or do we just drop after that 213 break and take? So good strength coming in on these markets. I'm looking at the future, making sure that we're still, jiving with the Mag 7 move here on the future and that we're not turning. Here comes 213 again. Do we hold? Down into the 80s we go. I'd like a 211 defense. Excuse me. So many times we came off that 211. I may not get it though. So it may have to be just punching in at these highs. Apple showing good strength. The 1 minute candle has a 10 exponential at 212.75. Yep, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to get in here. We'll give this one the old try, see if we can hold that 213 area thereabouts. I'm going to get out at the 212.75 level. So if we break down into that level, I will get out and look for another possible pop in Apple as we look to dance here with 213. Up into the 213 area we go again. So let's see if we can weasel some profit here. If we don't get stopped out possibly at the $0.25, I'm going to leave that one hanging out there. But I think we do get zigged and zagged a little bit on this whole dollar level there.
Yeah, I've been looking at this NVIDIA. I was interested initially looking at NVIDIA as a short, and I know, right? But I want to explain. We had this topping tail candle here, initially 2, now we've of course gone higher. And they were both kind of sitting around that 101.70 area. We got below 101.70, I was like, okay, cool, this could be a nice short. Then I noticed, hey, we're actually making higher lows. I tried to go long this 101.75, and NVIDIA was like, I'm actually already on my upward trajectory, but thank you very much for playing. So I said, okay, NVIDIA, I understand. Keep doing your thing, 21. Nice move up here into 102. I'm keeping an eye on NVIDIA if we get back to that 101.70 area. Tesla continuing to kind of chop and churn around here. Always have eyes on TSLA, specifically the book. And the SPY around 520, kind of interesting to me as well. Shout out to Willis Addison, speaking of the SPY. Have open SPY 538 swing put on TOS, can't close. Oh no. I'm sorry to hear that about the you cannot close your put there. Yeah, I mean, if you have 538 SPY puts, I would say you're in the money, right? Because we're at like 520 there. But I see what you're like, definitely kind of trying to curl higher. That is for sure with these higher lows on the 5-minute chart. Nice look though. Shout out to you again, Willis Addison. Thank you very much for the super chat. So yeah, having a good time over here in these markets. Is there anything you guys want to look at over here right now? I would love to take a look at anything for you guys here, but also if you have anything that you want La Big Kahunas to see, let us know. Exclamation point, join space, $, whatever tickers you're here fancy, because why not? That's what we're here to do. Like I said, only 3 trades so far. Unfortunately, did get rinsed on all 3. Not rinsed as much as lightly rained on. You know what I mean? So let's see what happens here. Friday highs here for AMD, says David Beach. Wow. Yeah, I mean, we'll take a look at AMD. It is on my side chart. Lots of people mentioning AMD here in this chat. Let's take a look on AMD. So this one over here, let me see if we can pull this up. 3% to the upside on A to the M to the D. Okay, we're going to get the first pushback here for this 132 level. Look at that. We come a couple wicks here into that 90 MA, push higher, then we bounce on a closing basis. This is a beautiful look. And then also, again, higher lows here around this 133 halves. AMD, great look here. Paula Blackford, Paula. I did just go over NVIDIA just now here. I like that 101.70 area. Clearly missed that breakdown. Lots of support as well, though, in NVIDIA in the 5-minute around this 98, 50, 99 area, thereabouts. With regards to Forex AU, Tesla short to 197.55. That 197.55 is someone who took a short there earlier and got chopped up. Is a wild level. I would wait to see what we do at 197. That ended up being the more key level. Oh, sorry, I tried to go long Tesla 197.50. So yeah, maybe it could work out. I would definitely wait to kind of see what we do with that 197 level, because that ended up being the key level. We had a fake out bounce, then broke lower. So 197, 197.50 Tesla is certainly a level of someone who got chopped up in that earlier today. Yeah,
speaking of getting chopped up, there with you on Apple. I'm going to look for, this is going to be my last trade on Apple. I'm going to try to defend the 10. I'm 0-2 so far, 211.25. That's the 10 exponential on the 5, and that's the one that I like. That's one I actually liked initially. So we're going to give that one a try. We're going to sit there. If it doesn't hold that level, if it breaks 211, that's going to be the end of the trade. We'll see if it can come down into the 10 exponential on the 5, because that's where I've got my trade. I'm front running it by a little bit, trying to put that $0.33, but the 10 exponential is at the $0.25 right now. Trying to catch these dips, I guess. Maybe that's a bad idea on this day. We'll have to wait and see. The end of the day will let us know. As I look on my side chart over here, I'm still seeing the same level on MSFT. 400 is still in play right now on MSFT. Still haven't broken that level. We've been putting in higher lows and trying to hold some moving averages, but that top staying flat at the moment. Nothing doing there. Still waiting on Apple. See if I can get at maybe a possible 211.25 dip, but we'll see over here. Now, I'm going to have to give this one a little bit more room than I've given my other stops. So this one, if we get filled at 211.25, I'm going to have to give it to actually 211, because that's where the actual price action support is with these triple tops here in the morning. So dancing at the 250 right now, not coming in to 211 all that quickly. What else we got going on over here? What are you guys looking at? Let me know what you guys are looking at. I've already talked about what I'm looking at. Maybe you guys have some better ideas. Throw them in the chat. Tag me so that I do see them. I see PW. That this one showed up on my gap scanner. It's up nicely on the day, 62 some odd %. Here we go with the Apple. So I've got to get this now. All right, so we have to give this to basically 210 like this, and then we're gonna have to get out if it breaks to that level. So we're gonna go like this, and there we are. So now we're long 30s. We'll see if we can get something possibly at that 2/3 of a dollar now that we've been stopped out a couple of times on it. So we'll have to make that money back if we do. But a 211 break is the end of my trade on this one. I'm still keeping my eye on PW, and there it is. So get stopped out super quick. Looks, the volatility on Apple today is just a little bit not for me. I think, it's obviously being traded here aggressively given what happened with Berkshire overnight. So this is not my cup of tea on the day because it's not holding my level. So I'm going to give up on Apple. I'm going to look at something else, something a little bit more tame. Right now, I do like Taiwan Semi because it's now at the 10 exponential on the 5. So I've been setting up for this one as well. So we'll see if we can get in here at Taiwan Semi. Coming in to that 146-ish level. We're going to give this one a try.
Nice. Yeah, best of luck there with that Taiwan Semi, Taiwan Semi, I guess. But yeah, Apple's certainly not the dead one today. That Berkshire Hathaway thing was really fascinating. There are 390 million shares sold in the quarter. Wow. And now the largest cash reserve they've ever had. AMD coming into that 136 here. I'm interested in a very, very small position. I want to see, so as I was saying that, we got back below 136. I'm like, AMD, what's happening? Let's find out what's going on here. Shout out to Dan Emmons saying we have some auctions coming up here, 6-month T-bill auctions. We don't have any of those 1 p.m. auctions that we know sometimes move the market. None of those today to be aware of. But we do have Fed's daily after the close there coming up at 5. So just some reminders there. Shout out to our chat for always reminding us about all the events we got going on. Everybody has eyes on everything. So AMD here, 136, now coming, I think, from support to resistance. I am very skeptical here. Sorry, yeah, I just got to deal with my mic, I guess, yeah.
Right, so I'm in Taiwan Semi. We're long 75. It's obviously having issues here with the 2/3 of a dollar. If we break down below 1/3 of a dollar, so I've given this one a little bit of room. I'm looking for a 10 exponential bounce. If I don't get the 10 exponential bounce, then my trade idea is wrong. And so there's really no point of trying to fight it because I'm in it for a specific reason. Break even at the moment. I'm looking for a possible retracement, maybe back into 148. That'll put me $1.25 in the money. We'll have to wait and see. Taiwan Semi still 2% down. And I know that there was all sorts of interesting stuff on the weekend with China and, airplanes flying around Taiwan. And I know that's never really a good feeling, especially with, for those who invested in Taiwan Semi, because without this company, there's just no microchips being made. Just the amount, or advanced microchips, I should say, the amount or the percentage of advanced chips that this company is responsible for makes it really worrisome if something was to happen to this company. So we're currently 5 pennies out of the money. I'm trying to pack my patience. My stop's already in place at the 1/3 of a dollar. We'll see if we can get at least retrace above that 147 area. We're getting some selling right now, moving into the 80s, but being met with a wall of sellers. It feels like this market may have changed a little bit, but we'll have to wait and see. Keeping an eye on the chips. And I like this particular name for its recovery and for its bigger picture story. So that all that doesn't matter on the day. It's going to have to actually print IRL. And my first peak water is going to be around a 147.5. But ultimately, I'd like a possible 148 break and take. That is the high of the day. We're having issues with 147 as we have been for the last 5 minutes or so right now. Here we go above 147 by a little bit. So we'll look to see if we can get something possibly at the 1/3 of a dollar over here as we retrace a little bit, but nothing really, aggressive like some of the earlier moves that we had on the day on TSM, 1.87 in negative land, but still holding up that 10 exponential Adair.
Yeah, thank you for taking over there for that. AMD did not get that 136. It was so pop up. Then we come back to 136 and waffle. I should have gotten long. I wasn't as confident in the move as I should have been, so I didn't get involved. I also forgot to mention this here. I did have a bit of a SPY short briefly earlier here. Tried to take that 520 short. it would have worked out had I scalped it. I didn't scalp it. I should have known better. Shout out to Sufjan Stevens in that song. But you know what? Like that, I'm happy I'm participating in this market, even though, as I said, I feel a little bit like a fish out of water, like, what's going on? Because you only learn by participating and by doing. You don't learn by sitting on the sidelines. You have to watch so you understand how it moves. But at a certain point, you've got to scheme, plot, scheme, get money. Shout out to Drake here. Right now, I'm the furthest thing from up on the day, but you guys know I'm always green on the mindset. So let's see what's going on here. S&P 500, if we continue to kind of break below this 520 area, that could be interesting. What I've seen, though, in the book is as we get below 520, we get something of a range between 520.20s and 519, I want to say 70s, 80s. Right now, it looks like we're at the top end of that range, bouncing off 520.20s. So just some things to keep in mind. Tesla, hello, ma'am. I have not weirdly talked to you today yet, so let's do that. Tesla here, 201.50s. What an area of indecision. We had that wick up here. Above 202s on the 5-minute, and we come back and we rest. Are we bouncing off the 90 EMA? Yeah. But did I say I'd be more using the 1 minute? Oh, for sure. But the 1 minute and the 5-minute are giving you that same kind of look of indecision. We sit at this level and we waffle. We go up, we go down. We go up, we go down. If we get another rejection of that 201.50 pretty violently there in the chart, I'd be really, not the chart, the book. I'd be vaguely tempted to take a very small position short Tesla, but it looks like Tesla doesn't want to give me that chance again right now. We are, oh, this is beautiful below the 90 EMA here. Kelsey, we do here if we bounce off that 201s back to 201.50 and reject, that's what we had when we got that 197 level, and I played it long for reasons. So I would be very, very interested in the short to get back to that 201.50 and reject, which it looks like we're trying to do. Okay, we're going to get, and we pop higher. What a good time here on Tesla. Live Tesla reactions here. If you guys want live reactions to all these stocks, definitely feel free to like and subscribe. We'd love to have you. And also, if you're subscribed to our chat, you could actually vote for our audience segment, ! join, space, $, whatever ticker you're looking at. Shout out to it's a crap stock saying it's a scalpy type of day. It feels different too. Indeed, it does. The winds of change are waving over here in this market. You got to ride that wave before it takes you away. How are you doing?
It was good. Well, we did well here on Taiwan Semi for the first time on the day. We took 75 pennies there. We got long at the 10, a 146 quarter dollar. Took out everything at the $147.5. First beak wetter was at the $0.25, second beak wetter at the half. So Taiwan Semi ends up holding the 10 exponential on the 5. And so this one is quite directional. And when you look at Taiwan Semi and you look at AMD, there's a lot of similarities between both of their charts. Both are above the 10 exponential and haven't retraced below that. Both are up and to the right essentially, and both are very, very close to their high a day. 136.98 for AMD, 148, 20 on TSM. Very similar looking charts, obviously not identical. So we'll keep an eye on both of these as they both recover quite aggressively here. AMD obviously doing a little bit better. I saw PW. I did mention that super quick. I was about to look at it, but I had to nurse the trade that I had on TSM. This is very interesting here on PW. Now, I'm going to mention it. Wow. Okay, so as I tell you about this on PW, let me tell you quickly that it is a very spready name, and you can see that by how it's trading. It's jumping from 58 pennies to 75 pennies. It's a dollar name. It has no business being this spready, all right? And it's traded on the day about 7 million shares. That's probably why it's spready, because it's the $1.68. So what does that tell me? That the participation in the small caps, at least this one, is almost negligible. It's a dollar name. It's only printed 7 million shares, and it's got a spread of 5 or 6 pennies on a dollar. It's not a good, I want to say, intraday trading stock, at least for me. What I do like about it, so that's the bad side of things. The good side of things is it's really respecting technical patterns here. What do I mean by that? Well, we obviously have a top with this topping tail candle here coming in at 1040 at around $1.50, in between, that $1.50 to $1.55. Look at this. Once we clear it, we get to $1.85. Look at all the bottoming tail candles. Really try to hold that $0.50. You do not have a closing print south of that $0.50. Sure, you wick as well. And in addition to that price action support at $1.50 being, a good area of technical support, formerly resistance, you also have the assistance of the volume weighted average price, which is also featuring here on some of the price action, as on this 5-minute candle. The last two 5-minute candles have both bounced exactly off the volume weighted average price. So PW in play. I don't like it because of its spreadiness. I don't like it because of its illiquidity, but I do like the chart action or the chart pattern, excuse me, I should say, on the chart today.
Yeah, shout out to that PW, but also make sure that you check out, thank you so much to our sponsors here at stonks.com. You want a chance to win $1,000 every day? Stonks.com is giving out $1,000 daily, and entering is super easy. Just predict the stock price after the earnings report. All it takes is 30 seconds to join. Just go to stonks.com, sign up, and hit the make prediction button, and potentially win $1,000. It's that simple. Each day you get one free ticket to predict. Want more chances? Share your referral link and get 5 extra tickets for each sign up. Go to stonks.com. Don't miss out, and good luck. So good luck to everybody there for sure. Shout out to stonks.com. Tesla here, I tried to take a short at that 201.50. Basically, the impetus was I saw stuff on the book that I saw pretty similar to what I tried to go long here as well, which is when we would go to that $201 area, we'd come back to 201.50, and then we wouldn't be able to break above it. Tried the short, didn't work out. We got to 202s, I got out. Tried to get in it as a long actually as well. When I saw we had those higher lows, wasn't able to get filled. I don't want to hop into this long now though, because I've noticed sometimes, and I said this last week, I find where I have issues, and specifically when I got shut down last week, I feel like this was the crux of my problems, was that I wasn't scalping as much as I should have, and sometimes I get involved in moves because I see that scalp opportunity, and I don't take it quickly enough, or I don't take it as a scalp, and then I end up getting caught up. So I want to wait right now. Did take some L's already on TSLA and the SPY, so I'm ready. I'm waiting to find some other opportunities to make things work. Happy I wouldn't have gotten in that long just now either, because now Tesla decisively back below that 202. If we make a higher high at 201.75s, it's sort of promising to me, but I do want to be patient. I do not want to mess up all my risk in this first hour of how to trade. Apple, actually kind of interesting to me too, because Warren Buffett and his pals giving you a bit of a buffet on Apple. Apple. This topping tail candle here, we put above that 90 EMA, then we dip below the 90 EMA. I am interested if we come back to 211 and we retest it and we break below. I want a position here. We had a gorgeous bull flag that sort of broke out and then kind of fizzled. Now I'm cognizant because we're also near that previous resistance area around that 210.75. We know resistance and support can have little flip-flops, so I don't want to put on those flip-flops right now. Don't even want to try them on. Who knows? But let's see what we do here at Apple. We're decisively below that 210.70. If we come back to 210.70, reject, I think I'm going to start the position with basically either adding or getting out as we get into 211s. Trusting the book. We have, Jay Lee saying short the dead one. Warren knows. And 2 New York Set saying long or short Apple now. I am tempted to go short, but I think if we break above 211, back above that 90 EMA, things could get a little caramel apple spicy here, back to the upside. Who knows? Let's find out what's going on here in this.
I got to take over for a sec.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's have a look. I think something's with your mic. I'm not sure. Let's have a look at what's going on. I'm liking this Meta retracement here. So Meta's been a very strong name on the day, better recovery than some of these other ones, and it's coming into the 10 exponential. And I like this level, but I'm less inclined to want to basically feature anything on the 10 exponential right now. The last time around, we did dip into that 20 exponential, and I like the 20 exponential for a couple of reasons here. Number one, it jives more with the flat top that we had at 475. Number two, it's a bit of an aggressive move above the 10 exponential there, and I'd like to see something possibly a little bit lower. We'll see. If it rejects the 10 exponential, if it breaches the 10 exponential on the 5 like it's doing right now, I'm definitely looking at that 475 on META. Let's load up Meta on a trading screen because I still don't have it up. But I see like this market is a little bit weak right now as we come down into that 18,000 area. Even TSM is rejecting that 148 area that we had earmarked for a beak wetter that we didn't wait for, by the way. So let's have a look here at META as it comes down into that 475 area. I'm very interested on that area again for the reason being the top that it put in here, the price action resistance, it's all or previously resistance now. It would be a support level. I'm also liking the 20 exponential on the 5. Microsoft is doing that same thing as well. As it rejected 400, it's also coming to 397-ish, which is the 20 exponential. Apple is coming into that 20 exponential at 210 as well. So if we give up the 20 here, I don't know if I'm going to be really looking long, especially if we break down below 18,000. So I'm kind of trying to balance. A number of different indicators are showing me different things. I like the look on Meta right now as it finds a bit of a bid at the 10 exponential. Doesn't look like it's going to quickly make its way down, but I'm not going to punch into this quickly willy-nilly. I need to see some verified proof that this candle holds. Now, if that means waiting for another 5-minute candle to open and to make a new high above 480, then obviously I have a worse price, but I get some confirmation that it does hold that level. So a lot of indecision right now based upon how the market's acting. I kind of don't feel like this is a regular day that if you just come into the 20 exponential and you've been trending all day, I have a resting order to go long. I just keep feeling like there may be a mean reversion trade right back down, maybe not into the day lows, but to go negative or more negative again on the day. So I just have that kind of in the back of my mind, and that's preventing me from having resting orders at areas that I typically would have been getting in on if we had been trending regularly. But today, I don't think is a regular day. Maybe I'm wrong on that. So keeping an eye on these names. I'm liking Meta at this level. I also like the fact that Microsoft held the 20 exponential on the 5. Where's my Microsoft? There it is. So we held generally that 397 and a third, right back up into 398 and a third now. So Microsoft holding up at the 20 exponential. Now, if I was to get in at Meta here, the low of the previous candle is 476 and a half. So that would be $1. I would have to risk $1 here on Meta if I was to get in here. That, to me, is not the setup. I don't like that setup, especially with some of these other names breaking down as well. I'm specifically talking about Apple and Amazon as they're both curling down aggressively here. Aggressively, relatively speaking. So I'm going to pack my patience. I like this entry possibly on Meta. I like a possible entry on Microsoft, but I need to see more there.
Yeah, took my first positive trade here with this NVDA. This did get out a little bit early, but again, I'm trying to trust my scalp instincts a bit more. Got involved here. I liked that 101 level. That was a level I liked earlier as well. As you can see here, some resistance to support, flippity floppities. Got long just below 101s after I saw, some strength there, some higher lows in the book below 101. Ended up getting out at 101.10s because we get to that area, we get to 101.20s, but it was kind of fizzly. Definitely got out too early, something to learn from. But that NVDA, first profitable trade of the day, but it's just one. As Opie says, where is the next trade? Let's find out where it is. Microsoft ready to go long, says the Piper. I was actually just thinking here, I'm like, I don't know Microsoft. To me, and I want to take a look at some of their charts here before I say anything, but I actually am seeing a bit here of a lower high, and we're also below the 90 MA. I am a little bit interested in a potential short here for Microsoft. That is, if we stay below the 90 MA. Looks like Microsoft wants to prove me wrong, so we'll have to wait and see here on this MSFT. I just saw that comment, and I was also just thinking about this one on my side chart, so wanted to put that out there. Tesla back at 201, so let's see if 201 can do something for TSLA. SPY still chopping and turning around that 520 area. What else? Also, let's take a look at IWM. Because IWM EWM is a pal of mine. Used to trade it pretty frequently. Haven't looked at it in a while. Let's take a look here at this IWM, that Russell. Wow, the Russell 2000 hustling to the upside. This 199 level, I initially liked 199.50. That was my level for the Russ because it was a bit of a level. As you can kind of see it here, right? We had like a little bit of support resistance, but now I actually like this 199 even better. Nice little pseudo range here with the base of just below 197, top of 199. Then we get 199.20, I guess. Then we come to 199. We bounce beautifully and some higher lows here. So good look for EWIM. I won't have a level on this until and unless it comes back to this 201.80s where we had the 90 MA bounce previously. Also, if it came back to 199, I'd be interested. Who knows if it will, but then again, this market loves to have chop and churn. So really, we never know, Sharif. Absolutely. We love those end of day bounces we've gotten lately. So that's certainly something, or end of day, midday drops is what I was looking for. Let's see what we do here. Also, CrowdStrike. You and I both mentioned, we both traded this one last week. We both mentioned it earlier today, or I know you did at least. And it's been on my side chart since all of that outage madness. Crowd. 220, bit of resistance. Then we come back, bounce, double bottom here, 216 on VWAP. We come back up here. Now we're doing something interesting around 220. I actually don't want to go long right away, even though we are right now above the 90 MA. We do have that topping tail candle. I'm cautiously optimistic about taking this short, actually, if we break below that 220 area. But then again, the 220 support resistance flip with that 90 MA confluence could end up working out. I'm going to have to wait and see. But crowd strike, I'm willing to crowd strike where the iron's hot, if that makes sense. A proper paradox. I do think NVIDIA has some upwards consolidation. Just got out of a long on that. But if we break below that 101, I would say that's where things get dicey, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I'm looking now. I'm possibly looking short here on Meta now. Because if we give up, and we are giving up 18.1, and we're putting in lower highs, we have a general area of possible, oh boy. Did I? Yeah, okay. So it did get short there a little bit before where I wanted to get short. And let's see here if we can wet the beak down around here. So there we go. We're printing on Meta. We're about 50 pennies in the money on Meta, but it's zigging and zagging. So I was able to de-risk there. I'm not going to hold this if it goes against me super quick. I'm short 25s. I was able to get a print low 90s for somehow. We're definitely, it's a 31 penny spread here on Meta. I did not anticipate this. Here we go down again. Let's see if we can get a print around the $0.50. That'll be about 75 pennies. The bid is showing the $0.50 right now, but it's getting, or sorry, it's the bid was showing the $0.50. Now it's showing 61s. If we can continue to weasel down, there it is at the third, man. Yes, nice trade there. That's about 75 pennies, super dang quick on META. Now the reason I did get short there and not get long, even though I was looking long originally, was exactly why I just said, because the 18.1 gave way, and then we started putting in lower lows, and it looked like a bit like of a, I don't want to call it a rounded top because usually takes a little bit longer than that, but when you come into this level and then every candle incrementally is a lower low and a lower high, and then you zig and zag like that. Now I'm still of the opinion that this level, 18,050, could be a good support level, but that doesn't mean that I couldn't scalp it, right? This area over here, you had a lot of interactions with that level earlier on in the day, 18,050 on the NQ September contract. And look at that, bottoming tail candle, and you're above it by like 35 points. We'll see if we're re-able, is that a word? If we're able to retake 18.1 right now. So much zigging and zagging, a lot of volatility on the day. But hey, man, I mean, if you're not happy with volatility as an intraday trader, I mean, what would you be happy with then? Because you need intraday volatility to day trade. So a bit of a nice trade on Meta, but it was quite short-lived. And I got to tell you the truth, a little risky. Even though I was able to execute well on it, it was a risky trade. So that's the situation. I'm also keeping an eye on Apple, despite the fact that I'm likely to not trade it the rest of the day. But 210 generally did hold on Apple. And I was having a conversation with Jay Lee in the chat. And I think, you know, this is the beautiful thing about the chat and with the viewers that we have. Everybody has a different opinion and everybody's allowed to express their opinion and, you know, and back it up with facts and with gusto. And Jay thinks, you know, look, if Uncle Warren's selling, then he must know something. I would say to Jay, possibly, maybe you're right on that, or maybe there's a different reason that applies to Uncle Warren that doesn't apply to me. What I'm thinking specifically of is capital gains. But who knows, right? So maybe Uncle Warren basically selling up a storm there changes market sentiment because he's such an institution, right? The guy has umpteen amount of value investor followers. My friend Alfred, one of them. So you bring up a great point. My opinion is a little different, whether Uncle Warren likes it or not. I think the winds of change have come on life. AI is going to be a thing. And in my personal opinion, it's just, that's all that it is, a personal opinion, is the way that we're going to really use AI day in, day out is going to be our phones. I don't think we use any of these new gizmos and gadgets like you see people wearing around their necks or on their lapels or anything like that. That's my look there. Let's flip back to some of these small cap gappers. PW continuing to make me look bad because I was telling this one was a bit ziggy zaggy. I don't think I'm wrong on that. I just think that it was a little bit too spready for me to want to trade as a dollar name. But this thing keeps on putting in higher highs and higher lows and respecting previous areas of resistance flipping to support. So PW, guys, it behooves me to give you some information on this beyond just the volume. It's a $7.7 million market cap. It has a small float of about 2.75 million shares. And let's bring down trade ideas and find out what the short float, excuse me about that. The short float, negligible, about 0.47 of that 2.75 million shares are shorted. So not really a whole lot to talk about there, but it's looking good. Just very spready for a $1 name. But the chart pattern, man, you can't argue with that. Looks like a good chart pattern there.
Yeah, this lots of interesting chart patterns here today. Yeah, I was going to say as well, there have been less small cap gappers today. I noticed, I think because we're also focused on selling off. Like I had to really squint and scrounge to find some for that small cap recap. That is for sure. But you know what else is interesting here? Shocker, I'm looking at Tesla again. Now I'm trying to be cognizant when I'm looking at Tesla here that I'm not only using the 5-minute chart because as I said, I'm also interested in the 1 minute. And I'm going to actually say I want to go long Tesla here if we bounce off 50s and if I see that hold in the book. Why? I know we're below the 90 EMA on the 5-minute chart. But we do have this bottoming tail candle here. And also if you look at the 1 minute, which like I said, for my scalp purposes has been a helpful measure, we're breaking above the 90 EMA and holy Hannah, do we have some support at 200. I tried to go short Tesla last time the 200 happened and Tesla laughed in my face. No, I'm joking. It was manageable. It was fine. But the point I'm trying to make is I do think there's some kind of support here. I'm going to be getting long here at 55s if Tesla will have me. Will you let me in that Cybertruck, Tesla? Beep, 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 beep. Knocking on the windows, trying to get in. If it does, I would love to see what we do heading into 201. This is a smaller position. I don't want to add till I have massive confluence. Tesla did not want to let me in. Unfortunately, I'm just sat like pounding on the Cybertruck windows like, what's going on? But you know, much like real life, you're not allowed in the Cybertruck, I guess. But it's all good there. Happy I had the confidence to attempt that, even if I couldn't even actually attempt it. And also happy that the idea was right, the levels are right. Next time I need to be a little bit more aggressive. Missed by Phil by a couple pennies. Where's the next trade? Well, in this case, where is the trade? Because this was not even a next trade. Didn't get the trade. If we come back to 250s and bounce, that could be interesting. If not, though, this is kind of weak sauce. This break into 201, very weak sauce compared to what we saw last time we had the 201 break. So I don't know if I'm done with you just yet, Cybertruck. Might continue to bang on those windows. I want to see if we get to 200 and we bounce back to 250s. That, to me, will be a long. If this is kind of a false bounce and we break back low 200s, that's going to be a short. Like I said, what I've learned with watching the Tesla book is it'll behave in peculiar ways and have certain patterns, distinct patterns it does conform to on the day. Today, what I noticed with Tesla is every time we try to break a new level, or fail a new level, we always have that pop, that range between the 50-cent and whole dollar level before making a decision. We're kind of in the middle of that chop and churn right now, so we're going to have to wait and see what decision Tesla makes before I make my decision on this here Cybertruck. Beep, beep. If there's any stocks you want to look at, maybe it's the Cybertruck, maybe it's PW, maybe it's EWIM, maybe it's the TQs, whatever it is, exclamation point, join space, $, whatever tickers are fancy, get it in that chat, guys. And if you're like, hey, how do I get in the chat? I can't see it. Maybe you're not subscribed, so make sure to like and subscribe so you can be part of this amazing community here. Adobe bouncing off the 100-day, says Joshua Lee Mallory. Shout out to, Obi and I were on there on Friday. Adobe, as the chat sometimes calls us. Let's take a look at this ADBE stock. Oh, Adobe. I actually like this area here in the 5-minute bouncing off a little bit of these higher lows here before we get a nice pop-up from that, what is this, 509s? Interesting look. Let's take a look at the daily chart to see what we can illustrate here on this Adobe. Yeah, it's a bad Adobe pun there.
It's good. It's good.
You don't need Photoshop for this chart. This is quite the drop here from that interesting previous level of support resistance flip-flop at 530. We first get a bounce here coming into mid to late February 2024. Then we reject a couple times here, form some more support, pop higher, bounce off 530, drop from 530. Great look. I actually think it'd be interesting. I don't think we'll come back on this level, but this 490 that we kind of wicked into and bounced is fascinating a little bit for me. Bit of support resistance, flippity floppity on this daily chart. Shout out to you, Joshua Lee Mallory. So yeah, let's see what else Adobe could illustrate on its chart today.
All right, a new small cap gapper showing up here. Thank you to Farm Trader for tagging me on this one because I didn't actually have eyes on this one. Here it is, INDO up 26, almost 27% here. It's a good looking chart. This one trades on the Amex. So it's not on the NQ or the NYSE. Let me give you deets. $31 million market cap, 10.5, almost 10 2/3 shares traded on the day. Let's find out what the float is. Look quickly over here. The float is 4.7 million shares, and the short float on INDO, 3 1/5. So not huge, but definitely not negligible. This one did have a pre-market high of around 3 and change. I believe it was 313. Here's the look. So obviously we're zigging and zagging, but today an outlying day. I'm looking to see why INDO is moving. Indonesia Energy Group. I don't have a reason for it today. Okay, so if you guys have a catalyst for INDO, let me know, but I don't have anything. So we're going to have to kind of fly blind on this one. The high earlier there at 4:50 a.m. Let's see, was it done on big boy volume? No, about 43,000 shares. We got up into that $3.13 area. Right now we're having trouble with 3. And the institutional level print 309, so successively lower highs and actually lower lows. Even though this one's weaseling its way right back above the volume weighted average price, it does have, though, the volume to support it now. It didn't earlier on because we were in the pre and the volume was anemic. Now the volume is big boy. These 1 5-minute candles are printing about 750,000 shares a pop, so we could definitely get a squeeze through that $3 level. Here comes 3. There goes 3. Here comes 306. So that institutional level print that we got at 8 a.m. takes us to 308. It's now a 306 HOD. Let's see if we zig and zag above, a little bit above 3, a little bit below 3. It's not what you want to see. Ideally, obviously, you want that $3 level to hold so you can use it as a backstop, as support on your ascent up, but that's not how it always works, especially on a bamboozling day like this. Keep your eye on 313. I get that it was a high in the pre on lighter volume, but it's going to be what everybody's looking at. I'm not the only one that trades with pre-market highs as my gauge. I didn't get that out of nowhere. So if I'm doing it, there's likely other people that are doing it as well, especially in small cap trading world. We just got another high day, so it's zigging and zagging, 307 on this one. So good move midday. This one really started going right at 11:30. It was printing lower highs and lower lows. The volume was quite anemic on this one, and then the volume really started coming in aggressively at 11:30. Don't know why, I don't care. All I know is that it's breaking out, and if I can use it off, or if I can enter it or exit it off key levels of price action, support, and resistance, I'm fine with that, but it's going to have to break the pre-market high before I take it as a breakout trade. So I've said this many times before, but for the newer traders today, because we have a lot more people joining us, if I trade these small cap gappers after the bell, they will have to be above VWAP. There will have to be a definable pre-market high, and it must be trading above that definable pre-market high. Otherwise, I stay away. There are exceptions to the rule, especially the small cap gappers that make their move or the catalyst comes out subsequent to the pre-market. If that's the case, obviously you have to change the rules. There goes a high a day. This one's zooming, 314 HOD. It's now up 10% higher than when I said earlier. It's about 37 and change right now. This one's doing real well above that pre-market high. Now we can figure out exactly how we want to weasel a trade into this. I'd love a 3 dip and hold right now, but it's not what I love. It's about what this one's going to give me. INDO Adara making a nice big move here. If there wasn't too many small cap gappers, at least there's one right now. But we'll talk about that and much more once we do get back from Neil's lesson of the day.
Ayo, got a little lesson of the day for you here today, and it's not every day that you're going to open up in the pre-market or open hour show, open your trading day, studying where the halt levels are on the overall futures. 7% down is a hefty move for any index. And obviously, we sat down this morning and you were essentially testing it. That's a situation where you know volatility is going to be high. The VIX was crossing 50, and the VIX hit 60. Like, let's be real. We haven't seen that since COVID. When you have that kind of a morning, that early trade, that first wick on a 1 minute, a 3 minute at 9:30 is going to be wild. So you've got to pick your spots very carefully. I think one of those things that you've got to pay attention to is with wider spreads, with bigger than expected volume, if you try to take 3 swings, you're probably not going to have much of a chance to get something at 9:30. You want to look for that one opportunity and go and swing for it. Whether you swing or miss, whether you get it, whether you don't, whether you win, whether you don't, at least you can know that you got your chips in good. And then if you have other ideas that might be on the other side of the trade, be patient with them. So I want to start with, like, why for me, I had only one stock that I wanted. Granted, I didn't get Apple. We'll get over that in a second. One stock that I wanted long on, and it was simply Apple. And why did I want Apple long? I think almost everything I looked at that was retracing back into monster key levels was to the downside. Like you were breaking out underneath support or underneath a 200 period moving average, and it didn't feel as strong. Whereas Apple was pulling back into a previous break price in June, a previous resistance level where you're dipping right into this key level, that $200. And at the open, what had Apple done? It had actually bounced right into 200 to give you a flat top. So that's a setup. Like, what are the things about that trade that stand out to me? Well, I mean, as a day trader, a 200 level just stands out as a nice even dollar breakout, which is clean. Higher low into a flat top is a setup that I'm going to like anyway. So if this has been in the middle of the day or at any other point, the way that it's set up into 200, regardless of everything else, made sense. You apply then one more area that I'm absolutely in love of here. This is 927. And so just to give you one last area of confluence, at 927, what happens? It breaks 200, wicks above the half dollar, and then comes right back underneath. So it actually liquidity grabs before the open, the short, pulls into the pre-market low, then lit grabs the pre-market low and comes back up. That just makes a 200 breakout even better. Now, the lesson I learned today is cross a little bit further, be a little bit faster. If you have a stop order, maybe just give it a little bit extra room. We talked about this. But it's more about why this one was the one that stood up. Because you could have had longs on just about everything, and it would have worked off the bottom. But you had to pick the one you like the best. Grip it and rip it, as I like to say. Like, go for your pitch. If you're a fastball hitter in baseball, wait till you get one in your zone. You like hitting the ball outside, wait till you get something outside. Like, whatever works for you. I think in that particular case, it gave me multiple areas. The daily chart showed me the level I liked. Then we had nice confluence with a higher low. Then you had a lit grab, trapping shorts right before that level. And then they even trap shorts, maybe breaking the low of the day. So 3 or 4 different reasons to like that breakout trade, and then you're off to the races. So good look over there on Apple. The other side of the coin is if you must, and you look for a pop and fade, and you want to be against, if you want to be shorting a stock or you want to be going against the grain, I said this morning, you have got to be willing to only take the shots where it sets up for you and be willing to get out. So Coinbase, no stubbornness whatsoever. I was against this trend 4 times in coin. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Only once was I not able to take profit before it broke back out. And each time, out local high, out underneath the local high, out under the local high as it holds onto the trend. If you're going to do that style of trade, you can't just be sitting there in the short the whole way. There are times when that is going to work out for you. Because sometimes you just sit there, like imagine right here we break trend and go to VWAP. Then you could sit in that short, add a bunch in here, and you're lighting it up down there. But you've got to ask yourself the question, if early in that move, I'm maximum in somewhere around here or somewhere around here, and it works to there, okay, so if that happens 7 times out of 10, what happens the other 3 times where I'm still in it up here? And I've got maximum in here, and now all of a sudden it's like $3 against me, and I've got max shares. That's what you have to ask yourself when you're going against the trend. Not when it works out, how much did I make? It's when it doesn't work out, and I'm against it all morning, how much do you lose? So I'm always willing to get out in a situation like that. You can have it wrong, and you can still make money. NVIDIA is another example of that. I mean, NVIDIA 100 was clean for me. I like the over-under at that level. Once it failed the 100 breakout long, I was like, if it's going to put in lower highs off that level, then I'll play the lower high. It broke this, it failed to break the trend line. I don't even wait for the top. See this trend line? It held this trend line the final time. Don't even let it get to the high of the day, get out. Then let it get to the high of the day before getting back in. Then only short it when it's underneath the trend line. Have rules of it. If you have rules to your executions that make sense, that work for you over time, at least that way you're not going to get blown up. At no point was I ever in a short trade in NVIDIA which was under a lot of pressure. This short here, there's a rejection. This short here, we're able to scalp, and then it breaks, very small hit. This short, we get a curl at the same resistance level, get it out in front of the trend line. Wait till it gets to the high of the day and starts rolling over, then get into the short. You can like something, you can have an idea, but you've got to have a reason why it's wrong or no longer valid, where you then got to back off and wait. And the good thing about markets like this with all this volatility is it only really takes one. If you swing at 5, 6, 7 trades, as long as you don't blow yourself out, you only have to get one. I mean, I just heard a story of a trader at the open who had a fantastic long that didn't work out, that they got all back on their next trade. One shot. That's all you need. But in order to take that one shot, you got to have a ball. You got to have a chip in a chair. You can't get yourself blown out on extra volatile days like this because it only takes that one move. Have rules of execution. Have something which narrows down your trades to where you're like, this is the one that I like the best. With Apple, it was just going every single time frame and every single thing about that setup, the way it consolidated, where it was bouncing on the daily chart, the lit grab right before the open. All of that meant that was the one shot I wanted at the long, and that was the one shot I took at the long until I had that NVIDIA breakout trade. If you narrow down your focus and you narrow down your entry points, that's how you're going to be able to make money on days like today and stay alive if you happen to be against the trend. So that's your lesson of the day from me. It's not always you're going to get volatility like this, but there's so much that you can learn from it, and staying alive on a day like today will mean big profits in the future because there's a lot to learn from this kind of volatility.
Thank you very much, Neil. Informative, eloquent, and awesome as always. Neil Roberts, every day around that noon hour, he will be dropping his hotline and his lessons of the day. So make sure to catch that with Neil, and make sure to join Adair and I, obviously, every day as we do our own lesson. Neil's a little bit more nuanced, more real life rather than theoretical and more trade related. So Neil, make sure to catch that every day. Again, Neil Roberts, 12 o'clock. All right, so here's what I'm looking at. So I had a 75 penny winner on Meta earlier, and it was a short. Now I'm feeling entirely different on this because we're putting in higher lows on the future. We're putting beautiful bottoming tail candles off the 20 exponential, rounding, doing a rounding bottom, and now putting incrementally higher lows as we look to possibly take out that local high at 18,190. We're close. We're about 50 points. We'll see if we can take that level, but it's a good recovery right now, curling a little bit into the high. And so why I'm showing you the futures before I was talking about Meta is because Meta's kind of doing that very similar thing. It started putting in bottoming tail candles off the 20 exponential, with jived with that 475 flat top that we had earlier. Now it just broke through that as it tries to work its way up into 480. Let's see if it has trouble with that whole dollar, the $10 area, 480. It's got a high, obviously, of 483.5. That doesn't mean anything, though, unless it can retake it. So I was really trying to get in on that 478 break, but Meta wouldn't have me because Meta is awfully spready. Right? And sometimes we call her spreada because she's very, very spready of a stock. And in case you're newer, because we have a lot of guests or viewers joining us again, the spread is the difference between this number on the right over here, which is basically the offer, how much people are willing to sell for, versus on the left side over here, the bid versus how much people are willing to pay for it. The difference between the highest bid and the lowest offer is the spread, and that's the cost of doing business. If you get in and want to get immediately out, you're going to lose that difference between them unless they move. So that's just a quick synopsis of that. So I tried to get long 478. It did work its way up into 479 and change. Definitely back down into 478 right now, defending that level. So we'll see if I can get another trade here on Meta. I was very happy with my earlier trade on it on the short, but it was obviously very short-lived as that 475 is the real deal, it looks like, on the day in terms of support, because it obviously had a top there. There's no question about that. The question was, when we clear that 475 top, do we then come back down and defend it? Show that it was not just, a momentary blip on the chart, that was a genuine, legitimate support level. And I would say so far it looks like it is above that right now by about $3 and change. Pimpy Long Stockings, $1.99 super chat. Thank you for that. Sava is now up 230% from the firing dump. Let's have a look at Cassava Sciences. I saw the guys looking at that on, I believe it was Friday. I had a day off, but I was able to see what the show was doing for a little bit. Let's have a look at Sava. And then after I talk about Sava real quick here, which is up nicely on the day. I don't know if you saw this, Neil. Cassava Science is up again. Up 12 and change, breaking through that closing print on Friday at 29 bucks. Now we're at 33 and a quarter high a day. Look at that move from Friday. It obviously sells a little bit in the pre, given all the bearishness in the market, but good move up for it today. I want to talk about Sava, and then I'm going to talk about Service One. So SAVA, again, above that $29 area. That was the closing print from Friday. It was also the aftermarket top. We weren't really able to break through that, and was also a key area of resistance for us today, that $29 area. We got up there on the IB high around 940, rejected that, came back down, held 27. Now we're really not looking back. So now we got to zoom out to figure out where Cassava Sciences could find some resistance. So the area over here, 32, we're on the 4 hour, well above that. We got to switch to the daily now to figure out where the next resistance zone is on SAVA. And oh boy, it's a little bit higher than where we are right now. Let's say 33 and a quarter is that high. Wow. So we're really going to have to move up to 36 and a half. They're topping tail candles back. Oh wow. January 2023, the last time we were up here. We're going to have to see if we can stay up here because we've had a history of retracing off these levels. But great look for Cassava Sciences on the day as it breaks into highs. The other one that was moving, and I saw you guys talking about this in the chat, SERV, retracing a little bit back down now. Let me load this one up on the side chart over here so it can update. Oops, SERV, service. Okay, so now we're not up. No worries, Fabian. We're not up by much here. It was doing a nice little breakout. 930, it was obviously well lows, held 10 to the T. Now 15.58 the high, coming back down into that 14 and 2/3. That 14 and 2/3 is not a random level. That is Friday's closing print. So ideally, if you want to see the continuation of the up move, you'd like to hold Friday closing print, given that obviously it's a level that typically you chart as resistance and support. So a little bit below it right now, dipping into the 50s. The next level here after obviously the closing print on Friday, to me, is going to be that $14 area. That's where the 10 exponential moving average is on the 5-minute chart, and that would be like where I would be looking for retracement buy if this level wasn't here, this 14 and 2/3 closing print level. But if we hold up here and curl and make a new high above this 5-minute candle, perhaps maybe 1480 and change, I'm going to look to go long on this one. It's technically still negative on the day, but one hell of a recovery off those lows. $10 LOD, 15.58 HOD. So that's not a bad look for a 15 some odd dollar name. That's a whole lot of percentage movement there, Daryl.
Yeah, thank you so much there for going over that. Also, Robbie V saying, Sava, bien. So that is a very funny French pun there. Sava is good,
bien.
And he's, I guess, doing well as well. So shout out to you. I liked it, Fabian.
I liked it, Fabian.
Also, thank you to I am Chris Hendricks. I guess you are Chris Hendricks. Shout out to you, Chris Hendricks, asking me if I wanted that NVIDIA trade. I did, but it was kind of sad, and I want to talk about it. I basically did a flat in NVIDIA. I took a short here because that 101, I got short 101s because I liked how we were rejecting that 101 10s-ish area. Got short there. When I realized, hey, this 101 10s kind of popping higher, got out there. All good. Then I flipped long because I still like that area. But man, did it take us forever to bounce. We were seeing lower highs in the book. We were going from like seeing 30s to seeing like 20s, seeing 10s. I got in at 10s. I was like, Adara, it's going to give you a panic attack. You have to trust what you see in the book. Get out. I took 10 pennies. Minutes after, not even minutes, seconds after getting out, NVIDIA's like, oh, Adara, did you want 101.50? Did you want like 40 pennies in the money? I'm like, well, I would have if I was still in the trade, but no. All jokes aside, shout out to NVIDIA and shout out to you, Chris Hendricks. Long story short, did make money on it, but not as much as I would have liked to. Tesla, though, I'm very proud of what I did here. So right before we said hello to Neil and his awesome lesson of the day, which shout out to Neil Roberts, you're going to be robbed of content and knowledge if you don't hit out that session. That's for sure. So I first, this $200.50 level in Tesla, I have been a little bit obsessed with. It's certainly been giving you some opportunities. I initially took it short here because I noticed we kept getting to that area, bouncing off 200s. I ended up taking 20 pennies in the short. smaller position, good times, please a bunch. Then though, I decide, hey, if we don't want to break 200s, and if I know that $200.50 level is a turning point, which I've talked about that 50-cent level today in Tesla, how it gives you that whiffle and that waffle before a breakout, I want to be long $200.50. I get long, we get to $200.30, we come right back up. I was initially looking to get out here just below 201s. We were kind of having a bit more of an anemic bounce. We needed some ferrous gluconate in that move. So I said, you know what, Adara, until we get that iron supplement, get out of the trade here. Took 30 cents on Tesla, larger position. Happy with how that's going. Definitely just trying to get a little bit better every single day. My first couple of trades in this day were a little bit, rough because I was still trying to get used to this kind of crazier whack-a-mole type of day. And then I was like, you know what, Adara, it's still the market. You still have to give it 100%. Find what you're into. Take a moment, watch, wait. I've talked a lot about this jazz piano analogy in recent days, and so it's like you wait, watch the jam session for a bit, see what key they're playing in, see what time signature, see what's going on. Then when you feel like you have a sense of what's going to play and you feel like you could add a little bit to that medley, that's when you hop in. So happy with that. Let's keep going, try to make some more trades.
All right. Let's have a look over here. I don't have anything at the moment.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's not your fault. I'm keeping my eye on some of these. Obviously, this Meta 479 has been dazzling me. It just did break through 480. This rounded bottom really did have my attention. I tried to punch along through 479s, but I wasn't able to enter. But look, you're going to really have to give Meta room today because the range is almost $3 and $4, sometimes $5. So if right now, the range between where we currently rejected off that 480 and the next level of the price action support, which is at 475, that's $5 worth of range. That may be more than people are willing to stomach on, on this type of day, right? And so with that, I completely understand. I'm still looking for continuation on these names, and you're getting some hints of possible resistance right now. We did work our way up into 18.2. On the future, didn't really break through it with any vigor, but the price action before that 18.2 touch is more telling, in my opinion, than the rejection because it's umpteen amount of higher lows bouncing off clear areas of support at 18,050. It's just about how we can get in on the long. Now, some are participating in the long, some are not. For example, Microsoft, it's obviously definitely performing better than some others, but it's still really having trouble with 400 on the day. It can't seem to break through that 400 despite the fact that it popped into 70s, quickly rejected. Same thing with Apple. It's definitely having issues with 213 on the day. And now Meta, we're seeing that same thing happen with 480. So, maybe I'm not saying that this is where we're topping out, but I'm always a little bit, on the not defensive, but on guard because of the day that we've had today, looking for possible retracements back down. I'm still interested in some of these small cap gappers. I just finished telling you about Cassava Sciences. I told you about SERV. SERV absolutely held that level. So this 4 2/3, 4 3/4 that we were talking about as that Friday closing print ends up being an area of support, even though you got this bottoming tail candle through it. Closing prints all north of that area. Let's see if it can take out 1558. We know SEREV can go, right? We've had these great outlying days. It's been on a bit of a sell pattern for a minute, but if it can break through highs, we could certainly test the highs from Friday, which is around 16.5. So we'll have to see if 15 2/3 can give way or not. INDO also coming into an interesting area here, the 10 exponential on the 5. This is the area where we're talking about possibly getting a bit of a dip bounce. VWAP's at 275, but I like this possible 285 on INDO. The one that's really not giving you any breaks at the moment is Cassava Sciences. It's blowing through $34, $34.35 now the high. It's really squeezing here. SAV up 17.5%. The volume's picking up. It's not the greatest. 3.85 million shares traded on the day, but I would submit to you the volume really only started coming in at about 10 to the hour over here, 10 to noon. So it's only about half an hour worth of real volume here, except for that opening print candle, obviously at 9:30. We're well above that opening print volume candle though. Well, this one here had 300,000 shares in 5 minutes. The opening print candle had 200,000. So the volume definitely higher now than it was at the open. We'll have to keep an eye on this one. Cassava Sciences is squeezing. And I don't think this has any headline on it. Let me just double check quickly over here. I'm not seeing anything Sava specific, but we obviously know that they're embroiled obviously in the, I guess, cure, alleviation, I guess, of mild Alzheimer's. So we'll have to see if that pans out. $35 now, the high up day on Cassava Sciences. We'll have to see if that is going to be as good as it can do, or, you know, we'll retrace a little bit down here or there.
Yeah, Cassava Sciences certainly has been an interesting one, that's for sure. Like what you said, alleviation, that's a good way of putting it. There was those scandals as well with that Alzheimer's research with Sava, and you know there was that as well, headed by Pimpy Long Stonking, great name with that super chat there. That firing as well had Cassava to the downside when they switched up their C-suite. Right now, happy to say I'm in 50 cents in the money in TSLA, and I still have a piece for the dream. I would love to see 202s. I don't know if we'll get those 202s, but I did take out the position out at 201.50. Why did I get involved? I have been talking about this 201 level for some time. 200, 201.50, 201. I like that we're bouncing off the 90 MA, but you guys know I'm not going to take a Tesla trade solely or, you know, even mostly based on the book. What's the tape telling me? Or sorry, on the chart, what's the book telling me? What's the tape telling me? The book and the tape were telling me in Tesla that we were trying to curl higher. I liked what we did here. I'm getting the rest out here at 43s. I did want to save for a piece higher, but we're kind of getting a little bit weaker here in TSLA, so I'll take my 43s. If it pushes higher, I've missed out. But basically, I like that we're bouncing off the 90 MA and confluence with a bit of a speed in the tape and a nice hold at that 201 area. Initially, we were bouncing at $200.50 before we get to 201. I saw that we were making higher lows. I get involved right at above 201s. We get to $200.90. From there, we bounce. I said, okay, Derek, cool. Strap in for that Tesla ride. Initially, I was going to take the whole position out at 201.48. It's just above 50s. Then I decided to take half the position there, save a piece for the, or sorry, 2/3 of the position there, save a piece for the dream. The dream for me did not come to fruition because I thought we were kind of getting a bit weaker as we pushed above 50s. But it's all good there, baby. Also, I'm proud because I said with Tesla, I don't want to just use the 5 minute, I want to use the book and also the 1 minute chart. If the 1 minute chart can load for me, I'll show you guys what I liked in the 1 minute. But it was basically what I liked on that 1 minute chart for T to the S to the L to the A. Amazon, what are you doing here? I did not express delivery. You, Amazon. Let's look at Tesla. Tesla, I liked here on the one. Oh, look at all the fills. I like Tesla on the 1 minute here, because we did have a bounce off the 90 MA and some nice higher lows. So if I'm looking for that kind of confluence with the 1 minute in the book, it gave me that in spades for this Tesla. Crowd says Blue Jay. Yeah, Crowd is certainly doing some things here. Let's take a look. I said I like that 220 area in Crowd, either as rejection or support. Looks like Crowd decided to find some support at 220. I missed that opportunity 100%. I was a little bit too caught up in my SPY and in my Tesla, but nice bounce here in 220. Also, that reminds me, I actually took a SPY long as well. So I had that Tesla area. Then I got long here, the SPY, around 522s. I like that we had these higher lows. I like it was a whole dollar level to see us break below, then come back above, get that long. Bless you. I ended up getting out here around, what was this, 520? I took like 30 pennies. Obviously, it went way higher. But you know, during down markets, I usually like to short the SPY and hold dollar levels. If we're trending up, why not try to long the SPY and hold dollar levels? Shout out to Bears versus Bulls. I know you love the SPY, and I think Bears and Bulls have had some ample opportunities on this year market today. How's the energy going in Indonesian energy?
Hey, good. We just wet our beak at threes, looking for continuation through three. Obviously, I had to take profits at the whole dollar level. It's a small cap gapper. We'll see if we can catch a bid. I'm looking at the book here to see if there's any major size blocking a possible ascent. Seems like there may be some size at sixes over here and twos. Not the biggest size at twos. Now I see, looks like an offer got pulled off those twos. I'm talking about $3.02 is what I should have said there. The out is going to be the break of 80s. So still holding a piece for the dream, but it looks like the future is on the way up. So I would, look, I'm not sure exactly what's really keeping the future up here. It's certainly not Apple. It looks certainly like Microsoft and NVIDIA. They're both at highs. Microsoft is finally above that $400 level. And we'll see now if it's going to be on a wick basis or a sustained move. It's printing high days as we speak. It keeps going up. So here comes possibly 401 HOD now on MSFT, as it's only down now 1 4/5. It was down way more at the lows. Here comes 401. So good move here for Microsoft. And, you know, just a cursory view of the Mag 7 and a comparison to the future, it looks a lot like Microsoft, NVIDIA, and really Meta here keeping the market up. Obviously, we got to put some respect on Google's name. It didn't retrace nearly as deeply as some of these other ones retraced, but it's still off highs, about $1 off those highs on GOOGL. Very, very range bound today on Apple. I was looking at Amazon. I was going to say at Amazon as well, but not as much. I mean, the range on Apple is obviously a little wide. It looks like about $5 in certain areas with that 208 to the low side and then 213 to the high side. It has changed, so I'd submit to you now that the range is somewhere around 210 to 213. Kind of jumped up a little bit there, but it's been very stair-steppy and not as directional, save and except obviously for that opening print at 930 that took us well off the lows. But yeah, it would really look like Microsoft, Meta, and NVIDIA are the ones propelling this market back a bit. I can't believe we're only down 1.5% right now on the NQ, getting bought back up. That doesn't mean anything for the price action tomorrow. We could absolutely tank. But we were talking about possibly circuit breaker today on the NQ, and I don't think I've ever had to talk about circuit breakers on the big desk with Brendo. We had to give you that data point. 7%. 2 circuit breakers here, one 7% down, and then another one 7% down, and then I think we're suspended for a longer time than that on the 3rd circuit breaker. So we'll see if we can continue getting this bid up right now on the market. But just as I say that, Microsoft is down below 400 again. So, you know, it's a good recovery, but it's definitely not without its issues. Now, we're down here on INDO. We're about 4 pennies out of the money as we come back into 290. I'm going to hold this one until it breaks down below the 10 exponential on the 5. If this one gives up the 10 exponential, that's not the trade that I want, and I'm not trying to range trade this. It's going to have to be a breakout trade off a key level. So we're going to give this one time, but if it keeps breaking down, my line of saying is going to be 82. Stop is already in place. Already wet my beak there at 3s. Looks like I got top wick for now, but for how long is that going to be the top wick? Trying to pack my patience with this one and not paper hand the trade possibly here. Let's look quickly at some other ones. Cassava Sciences still rejecting off that $35. A few topping tail candles right now at that level, zigging and zagging, a little bit above 34.5, a little bit below. It's well extended here off the 10 exponential on the 5. On the 5-minute chart, that's at 32 1/3. That's where the 10 exponential is. So we're about almost $2 extended off that level. Yeah, keep your eye on this one because it's still absolutely going to the high side. 150 now, the high of the day on Taiwan Semiconductor. It's weaseled its way up, almost back break even. It actually did go break even for all 2 seconds and by 10 pennies. 149.90 is the closing print on Friday, the high of day. Now 150, still trying to hold that 10 EMA on the 5-minute chart. Taiwan Semi is one hell of a recovery. I can't believe this thing was going to go positive. It was down over 10%. When I was sitting at that big desk up there with Brenda, it was more than 10% in the negative. And now we're talking about going green. Wild Adair. Yeah,
I mean, you gotta shout out to the markets for making things so exciting every single day. I said I was looking to SPY for whole dollar level longs, then we flipped short. I tried to get that 523 short, couldn't get it. Then I saw it get a little stagnant around 522.50s. We broke below. I went short. It popped back up. Should have gotten out earlier than I did to take about a 40 cent hit on this SPY. But you know what? You got to try things. Happy I tried it, but I should have stuck with my plan, which was whole dollar level scalps. Hey, but SPY, if you want to get to 522s and then break down, that's where things get spicy. However, if we get to 522s, they're going to be getting right in the way of that 9 EMA. I'll take this either long or short, depending on what I see in the book here. I don't want to be directionally biased. I want to be looking at what I see happening action-wise. There are a couple tickers, though, I want to look at before I keep SPY in the SPY. One of them is Kellanova. Shout out to Trader Leah for reminding me about this one. This was actually in the watch list this morning, asking what's going on here. We had Reuters reporting that Mars is looking to acquire Kellanova, valuing them around $27 billion, according to Reuters reports. Pardon? Not the planet, Fabian. It's the, it would not be the planet. It would be the company Mars. Oh, look at this. Bit of support, rejection, trying to pop higher here at the 72 area with higher lows. Great look here for Kellanova. We're going to have to see if there's a supernova here on Kellanova if it breaks to the upside. Should we break 72, next level I'd be looking at would be this little baby base here around 72.50, then that 73 level, which should actually almost be in confluence with the view up. Let's see what we have here, but if there's any tickers you're looking at, maybe it's Kellanova. Get in that chat, exclamation point, join, space, $, whatever tickers are fancy, let us know, and you'll have Obi and you will have Neil looking at them, and Sharif will be moving around on that green screen, gesticulating wildly, smiling, having a good time, and giving you the news related to those tickers. Speaking of news related to tickers, one ticker that I think will be really spicy heading forward this week is going to be Palantir. Palantir, Palantir bounce here for Palantir. Sorry for that sound, guys, but wow. We have this gorgeous bounce here off the up in the 9 EMA. It's coming right off the open. Higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. Bit of a bull flag as well. Worth noting with this PLTR, this is actually, they report tonight. That's why I said they'll be interesting going forward. I think the way that we curled into this 24 before bouncing is just beautiful. I love this. Also, shout out to Willis Addison. This might be more of a super chat than Sharif can testify to, but let's go Indo. In at $2.41.
That's a great trade.
Little oil barrel, trade / scalp, prayer hands, little salute emoji. I guess you guys could be saluting each other.
Yeah.
It looks like you are smoking some Indo to the upside over here.
Wow, it's been a long time since anyone said Endo. It's always like sativa and indica. Yeah, but yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Absolutely. But anyway, looking for, look, Willis Addison, I'm in this with you, but we're going to need to hold 3. So we already wet my beak here at 3. Obviously, you're in a way better price than I am. What I see here is a whole lot of action, Willis, at that 290. I'd like obviously a hold there, but I'm very cognizant of the lower highs, that topping tail, not topping tail, that touch at essentially at 318, they're 314, excuse me, thereabouts, and then we make lower highs. We come back into 3, we reject 3 again. So I am a little concerned about this, but I've got my beak wetter hanging out around 309 just to front run that high of day. So if we're able to take 3, I'm all ears, eyes, and whatever other sensory organs I can muster, because if we break that 315, I think we've got a nice little setup. So again, I'm not really sure why this is moving. Maybe you have a catalyst for it. I don't definitely have a catalyst on my news blotter, but that's all right. We can trade the technical trade as it is there. Dan Emmons, yen is waking up again. Sleeping giant. I don't know what 6JF or is that, or I think you're tagging somebody there, or I'm not sure, Dan, because you know I don't really know too much about Forex, but thank you for letting me know that, Dan. Look, man, I woke up today and I had a whole bunch of messages from buddies. One of them was Alfred, and he understands Forex a lot better than I do, and I didn't even know what this carry trade was. I had no idea, never even heard it. Didn't understand it, didn't even know it existed. I had to do a whole lot of research in the morning before I went on and to learn about what this carry trade was. Seems like a brilliant idea. I've seen some people in the chat talk about how the trade's over. People are liquidating that trade now. Can't pretend to know either way. But obviously, something's afoot here with the yen that is having an effect on these markets. So we'll have to see if it's sustained or it's, less influential than we may be thinking. I want to look over at Taiwan Semi, guys, because it looks like as if we're getting a bit of a sell in this market right now. Down we go on a lot of names. Taiwan Semi, Meta rejecting. Microsoft down as well, 401. It was able to breach softy on the way down. It just breached 398. So we're looking here at MSFT. It's still technically higher lows, but it is breaching the 20 exponential moving average on the 5-minute chart. We're below 18.2. We're below 18.150. We'll have to see if we can continue to make newer lows. This is just more of a healthy retracement on these markets. Let's flip back to look at what INDO is doing. It's still having issues with $3. I'm unsurprised. There's a range being established here, Willis Addison, between 290 and 3. I suspect that probably won't interest you that much because you're long 240s, and that's definitely going to give you a little bit of a buffer there. But the schmucks like myself who are in at 294 need to be more alert to this price level. My line in the sand is going to be 82s. I've already said about that. But we do have a lesson, and I don't know where it keeps going. Oh, there it is. All right, so we do have the lesson du jour today, and we are talking about earnings. And I think it's an appropriate time to talk about earnings because not in the middle of them or anything, but we're definitely still in the thick of things. So let's talk about some of the acronyms, some of the terminology that we use on earnings. In case you're a newer trader or a newer investor, this definitely will be of interest to you. So listening hats on. All right. A powerful earnings surprise can absolutely send shockwaves throughout the market, both positive and negative, causing dramatic price movements, like kind of what we're having today, although they're not earnings induced, or maybe not. Understanding these earnings reports, however, is key to navigating these volatile waters. So let's get right to it and talk about what an earnings report is. So an earnings report essentially is a financial snapshot of a company's performance over a specific period, typically a quarter. So since it is a quarter, we get 4 of these bad boys per year per company. Not every company reports at the same time, and not every company's fiscal year jives with the others. And they don't jive with the calendar either. So it could be Q1 in reality, January to March of 2024. But it could be Q3 or Q4 for a company, depending on when they start their fiscal year. You need to know which quarter that they're in because it does make a difference for them. It's like, essentially, it's like a quarterly checkup for business, revealing the health, the growth, the future prospects of the company, all detailed in the earnings reports. These reports essentially are the lifeblood of the financial markets as they influence investor sentiment and they drive stock prices both higher and lower. And here is just a kind of your run-of-the-mill, earnings report. The 2 lines that I want to draw your attention to are the top one, the sales turnover. So sales can often be called revenue and vice versa. They are synonyms for the most part. That is the first line. That's what we refer to when we say top line. If you ever heard about analysts saying top line growth, what they mean is you're growing your revenue. Just because you grow your revenue doesn't mean you're growing your profit. Your expenses could also increase. So it behooves you to look at the revenue growth as well as the cost of doing business, as well as capital expenditures, so many different things to talk about. But the second line I want to bring your attention to is that net profit down here. That's your take-home money. That's after you've paid all your expenses, your interest, your deductions, everything else. Your revenue minus all that stuff that I just listed, and then what's left at the end is the take-home money, your net profit. That is either what you're going to redistribute to your investors as a dividend, take that money back, possibly put it into research and development, or pay it out or use it, to buy back your stock, which is quite controversial. So many different options you can use with this net profit. Depending on the sector, most of the times in tech, it's reinvested rather than being paid back. In energy stocks, for example, it's typically paid out in a dividend. Say it again. Yeah, no problem. So I hate to belabor this. Obviously, this is more of a fundamental thing, but it is important that we understand. Go Endo, you punk. There we go. So it looks like we printed up a storm here on Endo. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So we got that print. Happy with that. Now it's time to cancel some orders. So shout out to Willis Allison. Print up a storm there, buddy. Looks like you're 80 pennies in the money as this thing is flying to the high side there, breaking 3 1/4. Shout out to Willis Addison. Good stock selection there, my man, and definitely a good entry price. Back to the lesson, though. Sorry about that. So earnings per share, one of the first things we want to talk about when we talk about these earnings reports. What does earnings per share mean? So technically, the actual definition is essentially the net income, that last line on the financial statement, divided by the total amount of outstanding shares. So when we say a float, when Adair says the float on Apple is or 4 billion or whatever it is, so we know that Apple printed X amount in profit. We take that X amount they printed in profit, we divide it by the total amount of outstanding shares, and then what you get is an earnings per share. That's what EPS is. Essentially, it's a measure of the company's profitability on a per share basis. You can kind of think of it as the company's profit divided amongst its shareholders. It's essentially, a higher EPS indicates better financial performance. A lower EPS obviously is not good. Sometimes it can be negative. So if you lost money on the quarter, you had no profit. In fact, you lost, you burned through cash, you're going to have a negative EPS. So sometimes you see that described or stated in the negative. Revenue, we kind of already prefaced this, but the revenue is the total income the company generates from its business operations, and it's articulated on the top line of a financial statement. It represents essentially sales. So sometimes you'll see sales used in there rather than revenue. They are synonyms for our purposes here. Strong revenue growth obviously is a positive indicator, but it's not the end all and be all. We need to look at expenses. We need to look at CapEx. We need to look at, interest, deductions, all these different things. Guidance, another term we often hear during earnings reports. What is it? This is the management's forecast for the company's future performance. It includes expected earnings and expected revenues. It's their look, right? So here's the thing. They're not held to it. It's not like, you say it, I'm going to hold you to it exactly. But sometimes if you misguide the market, you can be subject to lawsuits. So it's not like you have to be held specifically to the penny, but if you misguide the market, if you were willfully blind, if you were negligent, if you misrepresented something, typically you will have shareholders sue you after that. So guidance, very important here. It's also the expectations that are set amongst analysts and investors are sometimes, most of the time, based on the guidance as articulated by management. When a company beats or misses guidance, it can lead to significant reactions in the stock price. That's why guidance is so important. And sometimes you'll hear Adair and I, Brendo and I, whoever else say, hey, they beat on earnings, they beat on the top and bottom line, but they missed on guidance. That's essentially saying that the projections for the future were not what the market was expecting. And the impacts of these earnings reports, they can be multifaceted and deep, no question about it. Earnings reports can cause significant volatility in the stock price. A positive earnings surprise obviously can lead to sharp increases in said stock's price. Conversely, a negative surprise can be very, very bearish and cause huge amounts of selling. Understanding the components of an earnings report, though, is absolutely crucial for making informed investment decisions. And if you're like one of the people like me who likes to gauge the macro trend using fundamentals and then uses technicals to actually trade it, you're going to want to know this stuff because it absolutely plays a part in your day-to-day trading there.
Yeah. Thank you so much to Sharif for going over that and for always spreading that lesson. I think it's a very good time as well because we've got Palantir earnings coming up tonight. Yeah. We got HIMS as well. He and she can enjoy HIMS and hers earnings after the close. Lucid earnings after the close as well. So it should be a spicy evening with Neil and I. You're definitely not going to be robbed of market entertainment with Neil Roberts and I. I need to stop making that one terrible pun. But shout out, Neil's dancing, guys. Oh, there he is. Where did you get your sandwich from, Neil? Popeyes. Neil went to Popeyes. Okay, just so you guys know too, we thought when it's a market holiday, we do not, we got to go get our lunches. So I have some ideas about what I want for lunch, but shout out to Neil getting that Popeye. Shout out to you. Also, I just took another SPY short. I talked about taking these SPY short or long scalps at the whole dollar level. I had two of these that initially failed. Then I ended up taking the scalp off the 50 cent level. When we got to that 5.20.50, that worked out well. It took 30 pennies. I got back, though, in this SPY at 520. We broke below, got in. I want to see what we do here. I have a feeling I might have been a little bit too hasty to this one. Let's see what we get. We're just hanging around that 520. If we keep getting into this 520 area aggressively, I'm going to have to get out. Yeah, okay, there we go. Got out of this trade. Where's the next trade? As Obi says, you can see Obi and Neil on that show just over an hour, but you only have 1 hour left to vote. Get in that chat, exclamation point, join, space, $, whatever tickers are fancy. If you have a ticker that you'd like to see Neil and Obi talk about, then you can definitely get in that chat and make sure your voice is heard. A couple different super chats here. Thank you to Willis Addison, $2 super chat. Oil trade, Iran-Israel conflict, Indo oil breakout. Yeah, shout out Sharif. Definitely took you guys through that one. So shout out to INDO. Definitely don't want to puff pass on that trade. We also had here DJ Marshall, $5 super chat. Bought 29 September 20th SPY $600 calls, or sorry, 600 calls at 9:33 a.m. for 1 cent when SPY was at 512, up 200. DJ Marshall already up 2,500%, 2,500% in these SPY calls. Shout out to you. Sold 10 at the 520 test, sold 5 at the test of 523, holding the last 5. Shout out to you. You had conviction. You were confident. You definitely got that bread. So shout out to you for that awesome trade there. Shout out to you, Bird66 as well. You got to have energy in these markets. You got to wait till you have that conviction. Wait till you have that verdict in the trade and get involved. Hopefully, banging that gavel with a nice verdict for your trade. Always using that Law and Order button, because why not? Also, the S&P 500, I did take a bit of an L. Not a bit, I took an L. There's no a bit about it. There was an L taken at that 520 initial rejection. If we come back here, I'm interested, but also 520 might be a bit of a bounce area. We did have some support at this area earlier. Asharif says, and it's something I want to echo, on these futures or these ETFs of the futures, sometimes there can be a little bit less significance with the chart patterns. But that being said, I've also had trades where I've missed or I've played it inappropriately because I dismissed what I was seeing on the chart. So you want to take everything at the balance of the evidence. I'm not going to Law and Order button again here, but just know that I wanted to, and that's what matters. I'm still looking at the SPY. I'm still looking at that Tesla. I went over those super chats there with regards to Indo, but I want to shout you out because you were smoking on that Indo trade, which I know is not a weed name, but its name is Indo. So
yeah, that's a little apropos there. So I got to give that to you. All right, let's have a look at what's moving here. All right, Cassava Sciences was a great look, but now it's obviously having issues with 35. I hate these type of trades where there's a monster topping tail through 35, goes to 2/3, and then zig and zag we go again. But I guess on the other side of the coin, maybe I shouldn't hate it so much because, yeah, sure, there was a topping tail through a key area of technical support resistance, but it didn't tank. So it's not like it was a topping tail, then it made a newer low, at least not yet. Still holding above 34, still holding above the 10 exponential on the 5, which is always going to be that solid green line on my chart. I want to weasel away into this trade here, but that may have to wait because SERV just got into the 20 exponential. I'm keeping an eye on this one as well. There's not much in the way of small cap gappers today, so we'll take what we can get. Now, the reason I'm liking this one, even though it's negative 1.85% on the day, because it was one hell of a recovery off that $10 LOD, and then it printed 15.58 HOD. Line in the sand between green and red today is 14 2/3. We zigged and zagged a little bit below it. The reason I'm interested in this 14 and change area because of the 20 exponential on the 5. And it's shown its inclination today to respect the moving averages, especially during this ascent over here. It really printed every closing print above the 10 exponential on the 5 during this consolidative area, and then it used it as the low area support for its ascent up. So it's respecting the moving averages. Now my question is, or the question to myself, I guess, is does it respect the 20? Is there price action support or confluence today with the 20? So we're going to have to find out. If it doesn't hold up at the 20, then what's my move? Well, the price action area here that I see that's obviously got some interaction with it is 13 1/4, but that's well below 14, well below the 20 exponential. So if I was to get in here, my line in the sand would have to be a little bit below 14. And given how spready this one is, that may not be a good idea. It's zigging and zagging. Look at that. It just dropped to 14.10. Now it's up to 14.30. Let's load this one up on a trading screen so we can get a better look at the book. So SERV, by the way, guys, I think it trades on the NQ. Yes, it is. It's on the NASDAQ. Okay, I just didn't remember. Here it is. So there we go. At 1420, we go right here. I mean, if I was to get in, it would have to be a super tight hold. I'm going to think about this one for a second. I'm going to wait for this 5-minute candle to close before I make my decision. You often hear Obi say this a lot, at least I do anyway. You know, he likes to wait for candles to close, get a better picture as to what, you know, the market is trying to tell him at this point. And that's kind of like what I'm feeling at this level. We're at the 20 exponential. It's a nice retracement off the high, 1558, but I'm unsure still. So packing my patience, waiting for this candle to close. Got about another minute and a half or so. So, you know, it's not just the Mag 7 that are actually making moves on the day. There's some small cap gappers, I guess, showing up here. We talked about this one, 400 breach on Microsoft, back down. Looks like it's holding 398 for now, which is interesting. What's the future doing? We're below 18.1. Okay, so now we've really gotten up there. We got up there almost 18.3. We're very close to 18.3. Now we're below 18.1. But this is an interesting area of technical support on the future. Look at this consolidation area top that we had at 18,050. I talked about this level before. We held it over here at 1150. We held it again at 12 o'clock. We're right there right now. We're right back there right now, excuse me, to this general area. We're printing 70s. Essentially, it's a zone. It's not a price. 18,050-ish area. We'll have to see if that one can hold. Big Spile Burdette, $10 super chat. Is merely a flesh wound. Buy stocks, buy stonks, get down, he says. Shout out to Big Spile. Probably printing up a storm. I know that he printed up a storm on those Intel puts from last week. So shout out to him. Intel obviously got rinsed on their earnings report. Tough look for them. I only wish them the best, obviously. Great American company going through some trouble right now. So we'll wish Intel the best and hope that they can come out of this on the other side a little bit better, Adair.
Yeah, hopefully they gain some intelligence on what they're doing in their business, and Patty G and the team make that better. Also, I meant to talk about this. I even talked about Palantir earnings, and then neglected to inform you all that I did have a brief Palantir trade. I should have waited for this because I was more interested as a short, but I was like, but Adara, we're bouncing. We're at this level here. We're above the 90 EMA. What was that voice? Above the 90 EMA, above that rejection area. 24.15s got long, got out, I think around 24.10s as we broke below. Not super proud of that. Oh, sorry, guys. I keep forgetting I'm not supposed to be clapping. No, my hands get excited and I clap. Oh, yeah? Not super proud of that trade. We're below the 90 EMA now. Couple red candles. If we come back to 24 reject, I'll get it. No, risk into 24.10s and clap in my mind. So let's see what we do here in Palantir. SPY, I tried to take a long here. A cheeky little reversal long at that 519.50. We had 519.70. We had some nice support there. I was trying to take it into 520s. Did not work out. All good. We got into, I lost like 10 pennies on this. We got out at around 60s, got in around 70s. So all good there, baby. Not a dream. This is not my day. Oh, not my day. I am actually down on the day here because I took some L's there. But, you know, you always want to, as 21 Savage says, taking less L's, making more M's. You want to keep pushing, keep persevering, and trying to grind harder. SPY, you want to break 519? Oh, you know I will short you. Do not even tempt me, SPY. Small position. Let's see here. If we get back into 96s on a wick basis, let go, SPY. Let go to the downside. Okay, let's see what we do here. We will clap on our heads as we get that fill. If we break decisively above 520, I'd give this probably about 20 cents. But also, if I see anything in the book I don't like, I'll get out anyway. I would love to see SPY. Bro, okay, you want to break down below 80 SPY? My biggest issue in some of these earlier scalps was trades where I wasn't scalping enough. I ended up taking your 30 pennies on the S&P 500. This is what I need to be looking for. One of these trades, I actually would have been 50 pennies in the money. Was like, maybe it'll go lower. Didn't go lower. I ended up unprofitable in the trade. That is the type of scalping I cannot be doing because it's not scalping. It's waiting around for moves with like a chicken with your head cut off. So the only chicken with his head cut off should be a Neil sandwich. Sorry for the weird analogy there. You didn't. I said the chicken in your sandwich. I didn't say you. Okay, sorry guys. I'm being weird now. But shout out to Neil's chicken sandwich. Yeah, just short everything now, says Robbie V. I don't think that's a bad plan at all. Tesla tried for that 200 short, missed it. But, oh, Tesla, if you want to give me 199 short, I'll treat you the same way I treated the SPY, and I'll take you short at any whole dollar level. That's right. We got these markets to the downside. Call me a bear. No, I'm joking. You can call me a Dara. But I am feeling a bit bearish, getting excited, getting into be a good energy. Shout out to Just Brad V. You just need some nice padded gloves with open fingers, then you can clap, no problem. That's what some people are saying, yeah, get the golf gloves there. I'll have to do the Nicole Kidman Oscar clap where she clapped like this, which did not seem physically possible, and I'm pretty sure made no sound. So I'm gonna have to practice that clap. SPY back to 519s. Let's see what we do on this market. Shout out to Bears versus Bulls for everything you do in the chat, for all your encouragement, all of your moderation, and I've seen you make sure people vote appropriately. If you want to hear what the Obi Wanfidence and the Neelich have to say, get in that chat, !join, space, $, whatever tickers you fancy. Maybe you want to hear about that awesome trade that Willis Addison and Sharif had on Indo. Got some energy in there. Maybe you want to hear about the SPY, EWIM, whatever ticker it is. Let's find out. Let's get involved, and let's see what this market gives us as we get a little choppy and a little bit churny on these here futures. SPY, I know I've given you a lot of love, but what does your cousin TQs have to say? Maybe I'll take a look at that.
Absolutely. I think we almost touched 18,000 there. Let me just double check that real quick over here on the fuge. We touched 18,020. So no, I guess it's just, there's such a wide range today there's 1,000-point range on my chart. 17,312 to the high side. I got to show you this. 1,000-point range on my chart today. So there you go. The lowest print you can see there, 17,312. I don't know why it chose 12. 18,312. So if I can't see a couple of measly points, you'll have to excuse me. 18,000 holding for now. Here we go, 18,050. The reason I'm looking at the future, not because I'm going to trade the future, but because we came into important levels on some of these Mag 7 names. Now, the 50 hasn't been a level that I've been using on the 5-minute chart lately. It's been the 10 and the 20. Seldomly has the 50 featured. The 50 features more on the daily and the 4-hour, the way that I chart, but I still have it up on the 5-minute time frame. And we just got a few bounces off some key names on the 50. I'm talking about UFuture bouncing off the 50 exponential, which happens to be the 18,000-point level. We have NVIDIA at the 50. We have Tesla at the 50. Very close to the 50 is Apple. At the 50 is Meta. At the 50 is Microsoft. A little bit above the 50 is Goggles. So the 50, for whatever reason, featuring on the day. Now, in addition to the 50 being important, I would submit to you $100 might be important as well on NVDA, and we're there right now. Double bottom so far. This candle took us into 1,004 pennies. This one took us to 1,006. Sorry, 1,100. I'm still living pre-split. So holding 100 right now is AMD ever since taking that level at about 11 o'clock. So I'll have to see if we can continue to move lower or we hold up about at around 100. The 50 exponential on NVIDIA is 99.87. So just generally in that area as well. Looks like we are going to hold for the moment, who knows, 18,000 as we go into that 18,050 area. So we'll keep tabs on that. Now, the other trade that I've been really wanting to get into is this SERV trade. It's given me an opportunity, I would say, at 14-ish because it's really held up at 14. So if I was to get in here, I wouldn't have to risk all that much. So we're going to go long here on SERV, and I'm going to put my stop a little bit below that 14. Hopefully we don't get stopped out, but the fact of the matter is it's absolutely not likely. Well, here we go. We're moving up. We're about 30 pennies on the money here on SCRV. Let's put a beak wetter, see if we can get filled at 35. It's a 10-penny spread, though, so it gets a little frustrating with this name. And there we go. We drop off as the bid comes a little bit down. We're long 16s. Let's see if we can get printed a little bit here in front of the $0.50. As the spread opens up a little bit here on SERV, it does wick into the 10 exponential, which was around 38, and then it did reject. But if it holds above 14, then that is going to work for me. But as it comes right back down now, SERV, nothing is really immune from the negativity, I guess, today on the markets. So I'll have to see if SERV can hold up above 14. That is my look right now. Sava Sciences also coming into an interesting area, $34. The 10 exponential, exactly the same level on SAVA. So this candle came down to 34.04. The 10 exponentials at 34.08. Great move up, and 50 cents, just like that. If you were resting there at that 10 exponential or at 34, just above $34. Good move right now from Cassava Sciences, but not obviously in it. INDO still zigging and zagging. Shout out to Willis Addison. Hope he prints up a storm on that. But the trade I'm in right now, Cassava Sciences, showing me 23s on the ask, but I'm waiting in the mid 30s. We'll have to see if we can weasel our way up there. What's the chat talking about? Tom H. Savile will go up to 39 later on. I hope so. He's like, Tony Price, I'm blaming Charles Schwab. I don't know if you're talking about anybody else or that's a running gag maybe in the chat there.
There was that issue with Charles Schwab and the they were down today. There were some issues with Charles Schwab.
Oh no!
Yeah, the broker.
So I'm assuming people using Thinkorswim couldn't punch out.
Yeah, I think there were some issues with that. That's what I was hearing on Twitter and in the chat as well.
A lot of people in Thinkorswim couldn't punch. Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks for letting me know that. I had no idea. Dan Emmons, I'm still short NQ from 18,250 and holding for limit down. Jeez, Dan, limit down. 18,250. How are you holding for a limit down? So okay. Well, look, man, if you think we're going to get limit down 7% from there, so that would be another 5%. Oh no, another 4.5% as we're down. Well, even less than that. We're down 2 3/4 now on the NQ after trying to recover somewhat back into 18,050. We go. Shout out to Dan. Hope he prints on that. Let me know how it goes. What else is everybody saying over here? Turning the sell button off, says Zachary. Okay. Dean T says Sava went from 26 to 34. Dump would be 30. No, LOL. We'll have to wait and see. Cassava Sciences has been on a lot of our scanners on our watch list lately because it's been doing bigger moves as that Alzheimer's headline gets it some traction. It's not the only one, obviously, involved in the alleviation of that dreaded disease, but yeah, we'll have to see if they come out on top there, Adara. Cassava Sciences down into 34 and change right now.
Yeah, what a day and a week or whatever it is. It's not even a week. It's been a Monday. What a day we've had, though, on these markets. You've got some small caps coming in later. Shout out to Sharif. Hope you serve that stock.
Thank you.
With all it's worth. That made sense, we'll say.
Yeah, it was good.
So interesting look there. AMD is positive, says Leighton Proizania. Yeah, you're not the only person who said that. AMD, I know, I was, from what I've kind of seen and heard, it could be because we did have that potential antitrust investigation being reported for NVIDIA by Politico in the information last week. So, wow, AMD didn't realize it was this positive, up 3% for the AMD one. So let's see what we do here at 137. I like 137 as a potential rejection area because we are below the 9 EMA. It's been many moons since that 139 level, so let's see what happens here. Also, Kyle Burdett has a super chat here addressed to you. Nice
what is going on?
Sharif $9.99 super chat.
Yeah, thank you, Big Smile. Okay. Sharif went swimming yesterday, did some massive cannonballs showing off for the kids. I may have triggered this tidal wave of selling. Sorry, bro. But swing puts printed big. I don't know how your little story or the little soliloquy story about me doing cannonballs.
I think you're saying he did. I think he's saying Sharif.
Oh, I see. Okay. He's telling me. I thought I went swimming. I'm like, I played tennis, dude. Shout out to you. Shout out to Big Spile. Hey, man, print up a storm. Big Spile, I know that you're holding those. I don't know if you're still holding your puts on Intel or you covered them, but obviously that printed big for you as well. And I know how much you love to see the world burn. And so today, the world be burning. So I guess your count is printing. Obviously, I'm just joking, tongue-in-cheek, guys. Big Spile Burdett, futures trader extraordinaire. If you're a newer viewer, keep your eye out on his levels in the chat. He's often trading the SPY there. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Thanks for noticing that, Adara.
Yeah, no worries. I just got short AMD. I got short AMD because I initially said I want to see what we did at that 137. Then I realized, hey, Adara, you liked 136 earlier as well. And I did. We had these wicks here below, and we did. And now I'm going to have to get out of this trade because while we ended up bouncing here, we broke pretty violently below that 136. Like, we go from 136 on the bid to like 135.95 in a heartbeat. It was the same kind of thing we saw in that Amazon when it broke that key 167 level on Friday, which was quite a fun trade that I was actually pleased as punch to be a part of. Not the type of trade I always get to be in. So happy I took that AMD, did not work out. Ended up losing about 25 pennies in this. We break above 20s. I get out. Shout out to Ike Anderson saying a bear with the bear face emoji. Also, yeah, I guess shout out to bear face from Rockhampton because I accidentally said bear face. But yeah, so interesting look here. We're going to have to see how this goes in this market, but AMD right now still trying to hold 136 as support. Happy I tried the trade, though the trade did not in fact work out. We've got Tesla inching back to 200. We've got SPY hanging out around that 519. We have Palantir still around that 24 area. So let's take a look at Palantir. Oh, Palantir rejecting the 90 MA. I did not hop into this trade because I tried a long earlier. Was basically flat on this. I got out like, I think 5 pennies out of the money, had a pretty small position, but this PLTR was interesting to me because of earnings coming up. Nice little bounce here around that 24 area. We're now kind of rejecting 2410s. We'll wait and see what we do here. But before we do that, let's find out about understanding earnings reports with Palantir in mind. We do have them tonight, so keep an eye on that, something to be aware of. But let's talk about, we're going to be talking about earnings all week. But first, before we get into how you trade earnings, you all should also like and subscribe because that's how you be a part of this community. That's how you can vote for the ticker Sean and Neil. Sorry, Obi and Neil look at. You go in that chat, ! join space, $, whatever tickers are fancy. That's how you get involved. But you can't do that unless you have liked
the fool
and
that
subscribed.
Hit the like and subscribe button.
Shout out to Mr. Neil there, not Mr. T. Mr. Neil. Shout that out. But also... What? Oh, okay, cool.
I love when he does that.
Nice job, Neil. But also, we're going to talk about earnings reports. What is an earnings report? So an earnings report is going to be a financial snapshot of a company's performance over a specific period, typically a quarter. We do, as Sharif was just saying there, you have 4 business quarters every year, so each company is going to have 4 reports. They're not always going to be at the same time. So, for example, I've noticed Disney and Microsoft are 2 companies where they'll have their fiscal quarters a few quarters above everybody else. A lot of the other Mag 7 names, though, with the exception of Apple, are going to kind of be in line. So you have Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So Q1 will be after, usually around April, they'll report. We'll have Q2 around July or August, Q3 around October-ish, November, and then Q4 in around January or February. That's just rough, though. And basically, this report is going to give you a bit of a quarterly checkup for a business. It'll be like the doctor, checking how your heart's doing, texting your reflexes, all of that. But for the market, instead of 1 a year, you have 4. And this will reveal the health, growth, and future prospects of this company. And these reports are the lifeblood of the financial market because what they can do is influence investor sentiment and drive stock prices. They're also really fun and can give you some opportunities if you're an intraday or options trader. Shout out to Danielle Shea, who always has a lot of interesting options takes on earnings. She talks a lot about the pre-earnings report period, which is about 21 days before the report for options as well. You can check her out. She's usually on Thursdays on the Market Recap. Here's some example of an earnings report. Just one sample. Some things we'll look at. You'll look at gross profit. You look at things like operating profit, your total expenses, your net profit. Some companies have a dividend. And let's say if you announce a dividend at your earnings report, that can impact the stock's price. Also, the announcements of, for example, stock buybacks. We had Apple's record $110 billion buyback program announcement during their Q2 report, which is actually when most companies have Q1 in April. So that's something worth noting as well. Also, if you have companies announcing stock splits, lots of different things to keep an eye on in an earnings report to be aware of. So let's take a look here at earnings per share, which is one key component of an earnings report. This is basically to be net income divided by the total number of outstanding shares. And it's a measure of a company's profitability on a per share basis. You want to think of it as a company's profit divided amongst its shareholders. So all the little shareholders having a piece of that profit pie. A higher EPS is generally going to indicate better financial performance. But also you can have losses per share. I've noticed as well, if you've got a company reporting actual earnings when analysts are looking for losses per share, that can be a great sign. But on the flip of that, if you have losses per share and analysts were looking for earnings per share, that might not be a great sign for this company. I want to shout out as well, TRAW TS64 in the chat. You should mention that a single earnings report is an indication of nothing. You need several years to see the trends.
Really?
That is true.
Really?
But also
Have you heard of NVIDIA?
Yeah, that's fair as well. NVIDIA, a single report can tell you everything.
No.
But I was also going to say, in terms of intraday reactions for our purposes, we often do look at single reports because it's just going to be that one report you get to see the reaction. Tesla can have wild reactions to its report in either direction, and it's really just going to depend on how investors feel about that specific day and what happened. And so I think that's worth noting. Maybe in the larger sense, you can have an earnings report you have to look at the larger sense, but for intraday trading, it was worth noting what is said on that day from what I've seen. Yep. Also, just because I saw this in the chat, Eddie R., the holiday today in Canada is just August long weekend. That's the only holiday.
So true.
But it's not a long weekend for the market, so we're still going to continue this lesson. For revenue, another key component of an earnings report, it's going to be the top line, as Sharif was saying, and it's the total income that a company generates from its business operations. And top line of the income statement, it represents the company's sales, sometimes also said as sales or revenue. They're used more or less interchangeably, and strong revenue growth can often be seen as a positive indicator. Sharif just mentioned NVIDIA, but those reports are cuckoo when it comes to revenue growth, and you've seen investors react accordingly on an intraday and a long-term basis. Guidance as well is another key component. This is going to be the management's forecast for future performance, which includes expected earnings and revenue, and it sets expectations for investors and can significantly impact stock prices. It could also, as Sharif was alluding to, impact analyst sentiment for their reports coming forward. But also, worth noting too, the other aspect of this as well is analysts can have their own ideas of what guidance might be. So if the company guides above or below what the analysts were expecting them to guide, that can also play a huge role here. When a company beats or misses guidance, that can lead to significant market reactions. One example here as well is Tesla, which had a pretty rough Q1 2024 report back in April. But when Elon Musk said they actually were going to have their production a little bit above expectations for their their economy or their cheaper, less expensive vehicle, that had the stock go up. So any aspect of guidance can be reacted to by these investors, these analysts. You want to look at earnings report much like you want to look at price action as the balance of the evidence. Oh, imagine I chung there. But also you want to talk about the impact of earnings reports in general because they can be huge. Earnings reports can cause significant volatility in stock prices, and a positive earnings surprise can lead to a sharp increase in the stock price. And if you're thinking, hey, what happens in the case of a negative surprise? You're right, it's the opposite. A negative surprise can cause a sharp decline. And again, you never really know what the markets are going to react to. Sometimes they react to these higher prices. Sometimes they react a little bit, sometimes they react to like EPS beat, revenue beat. That's great. They'll react to those even if the guidance is a miss. Other times, one little aspect of the report can cause a huge role. We've seen with Apple when they just had China sales down, a bit of a sell-off a couple reports ago. So definitely worth looking at every aspect. You might not know exactly what aspect the market's reacting to, but as Neil says, there's no good or bad earnings report. It's just what the earnings report is and how the market reacts to it. So you might want to understand all of the components, the balance of the evidence of an earnings report to make informed investment decisions and to see what analysts and what traders might be reacting to so you can trade those intraday reports accordingly. But also there's other ways to learn how to be a trader. Maybe. So let's shout out to our awesome sponsor here at Real Trading.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm ready. There we go. Attention Canadian traders, the Real Trading Campus program is back. Are you ready to elevate your game? Our exclusive program is designed to transform you into a real trader. Dive deep into the market microstructure, explore diverse marketplaces, and master professional execution techniques. We'll focus on U.S. equities, starting with a carefully curated stock list to optimize your learning. As you progress, you'll gain access to an expanded range of symbols. From order types to venue exploration, we've got you covered. This isn't about chasing high flyers. It's about building a solid foundation for long-term success. Don't miss this opportunity to join our upcoming cohort and take your trading to the next level. And obviously, as a graduate of the not the campus program, but the program that we had at the back there, look, it was different, obviously, when I started a couple of years ago. But I got to tell you, there was all sorts of stuff that even though I was trading on my own, I had no idea about. I didn't know about market on close orders or market on open. I didn't know about the euro trade. I didn't know about the what is that called? That trade that you guys do at 350, Rosenblatt trade. There's all sorts of different types of trades that you probably have no idea about that they're going to teach you here on a prop floor. So it was an education in overdrive, to put it that way. So, and that's just my experience of it. From my understanding, they've really amped it up even better. So now it's even more organized. There's more stuff included, and you're really going to have to, you know, bring your learning hat on, because it's not just about showing up and just punching keys. There's actually stuff to learn. So if you're serious about it, that campus program is certainly the real deal. We're in downtown Toronto, but I think it's remote now. So, all right, let's have a look over here. I printed really nicely here on SERV. I got along 14.16. I was able to get everything out at 50. So I'm happy with this trade. Obviously, you know, I could have done a little bit better as it's still going up. The reason I got out here, because I saw lots of resistance prints here at 60. 14.60, I was convinced kind of would be a line in the sand, and I'm still not technically wrong because we haven't cleared it with any distance. The only wick we have above it is a quick wick into 62 and then a rejection. So the reason I de-risked there was because of the resistance I anticipated at 14.60, but that doesn't mean it's not going to continue to go. Great look for SERV. But I would say to you, it's an even better look right now for the likes of Sava and Endo, INDO. Even though it's retraced here off that 1340 down into 310, look what it's holding on to. Yet again, this is finding support for the moment at the 10 exponential on the 5, the 10 exponential moving average on the 5-minute chart. Look what it did before when it met the 10 exponential. There seems to be some sort of dalliance between these two, 1235 and 1240. It basically retraced off highs, came back into the 10 exponential, held up. That wasn't obviously without a wick breach. And we're doing that right now. Here comes 305, possibly 3. We have support at 3. So there was formerly resistance at 3, then you clear 3, and then you start using it as support because you start wicking to 303s, 302s. And in addition to that, you have the 20 exponential also hanging out at 3s. Reason that's important is when a stock is trending, the way I try to get in is to try to get in either on the 10 or the 20 exponential, depending on whether or not the retracement's a bit deeper. Right now, it definitely looks like it's going to be a deeper retracement than the 10. Here comes 3. Time to load this one up on a trading screen and see what's good. This is INDO. Had a couple of trades on it already, one trade, a couple of trades on it. Shout out to Willis Addison, who printed up a storm on INDO. I wonder what he's thinking right now. He's long 240s. We get a move into 340, and then we come back down to test 3. Now look at this area over here. There's umpteen amount of wicks that defended 305, and we're doing that same thing again. We're coming into 305, and it's finding a bid. You're not able to see it reflected as clearly here on the book. You think that, you know, there might be a big buyer with, you know, a disclosed order sitting at 305. That's not how it's looking right now because the size there looks quite small, yet it's staying up. So what does that tell you? There's likely an iceberg order or people just punching in at the moment as it comes into that 305. But for whatever reason, 305, 3-ish area, an important level right now on INDO. Let's see if it can hold that area. If it holds it, curls back up, getting it on the back end, as Neil likes to say. Have it print a couple of green candles at that key area of support to prove to you it's going to hold up there before you get in if you are risk averse. Another way to get in is to get in at 305 and put a stop a little bit below 3. Or if you really want to give yourself room to move, put it below that 290, 285 area. We have a long consolidation area low there in case you get bamboozled, right? We've heard about this many times before, these specialist breakouts or specialist breakdowns that force the price through a key technical area to stop out people only to go originally in that same direction again. That happens, I don't know how many times a day on different stocks. So keep that in mind. If you're going to get into this, you know, there are bamboozlers out there that are looking to take your money, so you're going to have to be strategic with your stop placement. Let's have a look at Cassava Sciences because this thing is just on a tear. What a beautiful look today on Cassava Sciences, man. I wish I was able to get in this at 34. I really did my darndest, but it was super spready. It's 35.78 right now. It hasn't even breached the 10 on the day. Now, it's not like printing super crazy highs or anything like that, but it's showing you umpteen amounts of higher lows and higher highs working back into that $0.75 with ultimately 36 really in its sights right now to go to break through that level. So keeping my eye on that. SERV continues to go. So I got out of that way too early. It looks like this is the line in the sand I was looking at. Oh man, this thing's going to 75s and maybe even 15s. SERV only up 0.1%, but the chart pattern looks awfully good on it. What do we got here in the future? Uh-oh, we held 18,000 and now we're weaseling our way back into 18,150. We'll have to see, but that was a nice hold there at that key 18,000 point level, and it also held the 50 on the 5. So not a bad look. How are you doing over there?
I'm doing all right. I think it will probably surprise very few people to say I was just staring at the book for Tesla for that whole time. Took 2 trades on this. I would say of the trades, net positive, still down on the day and in the name. Like I said, I've been hiding my P&L, but just checking to make sure my risk is all good. So I was net positive on these 2 trades because the short ended up taking more than I lost in the long. Opposite. Took more in the long than I lost in the short. I got long here first at 200s because I saw the push into it. We had these topping tail candles in the 5-minute, but like I said, I'm not only trading on the 5-minute. I'm trading on the 1-minute and I'm trading what I see on the book. On the book, we had higher lows here below that 200 level, and we also, on the 1-minute chart, had a clear base here and some higher lows. You're trying to bounce with these bottoming tail candles off the 9 EMA. So I liked it as a long, took 30 pennies as a scalp, cool, fine, off that 200, proud of what I did. Then I ended up going short because we broke below the 200, and then we were seeing below that 200 some lower highs. We were seeing, for example, we get to 199.95, then we get to 199.90. I ended up getting involved, I think 91s or 89s, ended up getting out just below $200.10 when I saw we pop back above that level decisively. I was considering getting back on the long at Tesla at $200.20, but I didn't have enough confidence or confidence. That's something I want to work on. Happy, though, that I've tried to attempt to trade these names today. This is my first Black Monday. This is one of the first things Neil said this morning. He comes in, he says, oh, you ready for Black Monday? This is your first Black Monday. Really happy I tried it. So let's see what happens here. UFO money, Palantir after hours is going to push the chips, semis, NVIDIA AI trade higher. NVIDIA bottom is in. NVIDIA, let's take a look at NVDA. NVIDIA around that level of 101 I talked about liking earlier. It's been kind of a bit of an interesting level. The N to the V to the D to the A. There's some clear support as well here around 100. It's always nice when you have a support around a, not only just a whole dollar level, but one of those $100 levels, which certainly this is. We had a wick up into here, come back, form a nice little base here around 99s. Pop higher, then we find support actually here around 101 with some wicks into 100, pop higher, make this nice bounce here at the 100 level. So good look here. If we bounce off 101s, and as I say that, we're trying to wick lower, bounce off 101s, I'd be actually interested in NVIDIA long as an intraday play, of course, as a scalp, but I definitely see UFO money, what you mean. I also like your name. Making some money from those UFOs. Around these AI names, let's take a look at Palantir, my dear. Shout out to Palantir. Hold my Palin beer. That's what I've heard in the chat a lot. Palantir trying to bounce off this 9 EMA level here. Let's see if we can Palin clear that area. Definitely nice support here, or Palin clear support around 24s. Let's see what we do here. Right now, I would want a Palantir clear of Palantir until I see what we do with this 9 EMA. It's been a bit of a chop and churn area. Just as I say, we're holding support. Palantir comes back to 24 area. To me, this one's a little bit too bamboozling for my taste, because I wouldn't take it as a scalp. You don't really get enough move for me to scalp this with the kind of size I take. However, I do think we're trying to find some direction. Still on my side chart, still have eyes on it. Let's take a look at AMD as well, which I booted off my side chart in favor of Palantir. Oh, AMD. Look at your topping tail candles. Look at the way you're sitting around the 9 EMA. There is something in the water with you at 137, but I don't know what direction it is. But if I'll be like a shark. I'll try to see if I smell some blood in this water. On AMD, I've got eyes on you. A to the M to the D. How are you doing?
All right. Sorry, I forgot to mention this one, guys. This is my mistake. I saw Tank, T-E-N-K, a long time ago. I neglected to mention it. I did put it up, I believe. I didn't. That's why I forgot to mention it. All right, so this is a multiple halter, and I didn't cover it, and for that I'm sorry. But look, it hasn't been that tradable. to be fair. So I'm not that sorry. 907,000 shares traded. Let's flip to the 1 minute over here because that'll show us the halts a little bit better. So this one didn't do a whole lot. Oh, come on, it's freezing, bro. Come on. Yeah, I know, Fabian. It's a bit annoying there. Anyway, halted right now at 25.95. The high is almost 30, 29.37. This high over here at 810. I'm assuming that's an institutional level print at 39, 38.99. Look, it's weaseled its way above the volume weighted average price. It held Friday's close at around 12.5. The only issue with this is the illiquidity, and well, that's not the only issue. The illiquidity is likely as a result of the multiple halts. So the halt level right now, I just finished saying 25.95. It's an up halt. Looks like there's been more up halts and down halts, obviously, since we are moving off the lows. But the last one that really took us down there, 29.37, was a down halt, and we opened up quite a bit below that. 24.88 there was the print that we got into. So not a good look. I'm back long here on INDO. This is going to be more of a scalp trade. It's going to have to hold 3. If it doesn't hold 3, we're risking 7 pennies and we'll get out. But I've got my beak wetter around 20s. Let's see if we can get it. Okay, so here we go. TENK is open and it's pumping up again. Here comes 28 on TENK. Let's see if this halts. 28.5. Look at that. It just dropped from 28.5 to 27.5. It moved $1 in a second. That gives you an idea of its illiquidity. The fact that the spread is huge. Spreads open up when stocks lack liquidity. And look at this. We just touched almost 29. Now we're going to down halt at 24.60. This is why I didn't touch it. Here comes 24.50. All sorts of weakness. This thing can't stay open. Not surprised. Just wanted to let you know about it, but I'm not going to touch this because this looks like it's very, very dangerous to trade. Now, back to the one that I'm in at the moment, INDO. This is very simple trade. It holds 3 or it doesn't. That's the end of the matter. If it holds 3, we'll continue to ride this one up. If it rejects 3, we're going to risk a little bit here. It's still above that $3 level, trying to hold the 20 exponential. But as I see it, topping tail candle coming in on the 5-minute look. It's on my side chart. So that's never really a good look. Look at this. Now the offers are getting stacked up at 5s. There's some decent size there at around 5s. Not seeing an equal amount of shares move up with us on the bid once we do move up. So that is a little concerning. Got to keep tabs on that. We're long 7s. It's printing 5s. We're 2 pennies out of the money. Let's not write our obituary quite yet. But the point is to be alert to these things. Locally, there does seem to be a bit of a seller at 10. I don't know how Willis Addison feels on this. He's still involved in it. I don't know if he's watching it, but we did weasel up into 12s. Weren't able to get printed on that. So we're going to pack our patience. So long as this thing holds 3, doesn't break 3 on a specialist breakdown, I'm going to continue to hold this and try to eke out some more profits. Cassava Sciences is the trade that was, I mean, this should have been an easy trade because it didn't really go against you all that much if you were getting in at the appropriate price. And I would submit to you that the appropriate price should have been somewhere around the 10 exponential because it's shown you its proclivity to hold on to the 10 exponential. It has not printed anything below the 10 exponential on a closing basis since 10 after 11. During that time, it was quite consolidative. The direction really came after that 11 o'clock time slot. Then we started putting in the higher highs and higher lows, as we can see, and that's when the 10 exponential started featuring here on the 5. Right now, the 10 exponential is at 35 and change, 35.16, 35.20. We're printing 36s right now, so we'll see if we can definitely hold up that level. I'm watching SERV as well as SAVA and INDO for small caps, but you know, it hasn't really been small cap season on the day. I'm sure that's going to surprise nobody, given that the market was almost like trigger down today. I mean, we were not that much. We had about 2%, I think 1.5% from the lows that we got into the pre-market to actually trigger a halt on the actual index. The NQ anyway was a lot closer than the ES. Speaking of the NQ and the ES, we're zigging and zagging. We couldn't break that 18.2 again. So right into 18 when we go, we put in a couple of topping tails. This is a lower high. And if we break down below 18.1, I think it's going to be really ugly here because that's a low and then that's a lower high. And if we make a newer low below 18.1, watch out. So maybe Dan Emmons was right after all, and he's holding for that circuit breaker down from 18,250. He's 150 points in the money right now. It's nothing to laugh about. That's obviously big boy money. So shout out, Dan. I hope you print, obviously. I just didn't think we were going to limit down. That's why I'm chuckling a little bit there. But maybe you know something I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these markets have, they've given you like a little bit of everything, whether you're long, whether you're short. Shout out to Dan Emmons there. Also, shout out to AMD. Not because I'm profitable on it, because no, took 2 losing trades on this, but I have a thesis about this. I don't know if it's going to work out, but man, will I not take my eyes off it until I see what happens here at this 136. I don't want to say head and shoulders, but maybe head and shoulders. Look at this crazy neckline on 136. I've never seen anything like this neckline just below 136. Sorry for yelling, but this is like wild. Look at these wicks we get into it. Shoop.
It looks really good.
139. Shloop. Hold 136. Shloop. Baby shloop. Up into, on a wick basis, that 138. Do you know where our previous shoulder was? That's right, 138. These shoulders are not perfect. They're a little bit Godzilla-ish. You got some spiky shoulders there. Why are people laughing? It's the way I said the shloop. I don't know. But yeah, shout out to everybody. I love this community. Great team there. Let's see, though. We're back below 137. I tried the long at 137.20s. I wanted to kind of a scalp long because we were holding that area. Got it at 137, so 20 cent hit. I am not getting back involved in AMD unless and or until we get back to 136, have a clear rejection. Then I'm taking that thing short with whatever little risk I have left. Man, do I want the smoke on this AMD. You guys don't even know how much I want the smoke on this AMD. Also, I keep seeing everyone eating food, and I'm like very excited for lunch soon. So, good time. Where did you go? Where'd you go for lunch, Obi?
Pizza Nova.
Pizza Nova. Shout out to that. So, you had Kellanova, and you also have Pizza Nova. And let's actually because let's transition this back to stocks, because that's what I like to do over here. Kellanova. Oh, I said 72 earlier. I said if we can break above 72, would be a good level for Kellanova. With those higher lows, Kellanova was like, I could, but I don't really want to. Kind of stagnated for a bit at 72. Schlump back below 72. Let's see what happens here on this K stock over here. Kellanova is just kind of saying K to the longs. It's up on the day, but it definitely has been higher. Currently down about 14%. At one point, I know we were up. Sorry, we're up about 14%. We were earlier up more than 20%. Shout out to Neil Roberts saying, give me those Godzilla shoulders. Man, do I hope I get those Godzilla shoulders I'm looking for from my pal AMD. Before I pass it over to my pal Sharif, who is a human and not a stock, as I'm talking about AMD being my pal, CrowdStrike. Wow, that I should have been way more aware of this. That 220 area I was talking about, rejection, support. What a range we have here. Bit of a top here just above 222's base of just below 220. We had someone in the chat saying, it's a wild day when CrowdStrike's up in the day. I agree. This was something I was definitely sleeping on, that CrowdStrike, much like I was sleeping on my kitchen floor on Thursday. So shout out to that. This is a real, you missed this, but I did take a nap on my kitchen floor on Thursday. It was a real thing that occurred. Tired season.
I don't know. I don't mean to throw shade, but you've told me this story before.
No, this is a new story.
Is it not a running story, though, where you nap on the kitchen floor?
That was no, that's actually
my
new.
bad, different one.
That's actually new. I nap on a lot of different
I heard
surfaces.
you saying something to Sean the other day or something.
That was on Friday.
Yeah,
that was on the show.
Was that? Okay.
That was in the market recap on Friday.
Oh, was it? Yeah, because I was watching that.
Oh, you were watching. I forgot you were watching.
It planted in my head, that's why. Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, definitely sleeping in CrowdStrike on that same way. Lots of green candles here, though. I would not be shorting this range. Let's see, though, what we do here. Still have my eyes on Tesla, but I don't really want to waste any risk until I see what I'm looking for at AMD. Though as AMD continues to hold to 137, it's becoming less and less likely that I get my Godzilla shoulder situation. How are you doing?
Not bad. We're still in SCRV, and it's definitely lulling me to sleep. It did break down below 3 ever so briefly, got bought up quite aggressively, so I was happy I put my stop. The appropriate distance, let's call it that, from 3 to prevent against that specialist breakout. But it's you and your luck. Did you put it far enough? Did you not? It really depends on what algo and how far they're going to push it through that level. So anyway, we're above 3 right now, but we're still having that same issue that we had earlier, which was that 310 resistance level. So we're going to have to clear that level before I can get anything possibly on profits here. There's really no point in taking 1 or 2 pennies in the money. I'm also keeping my eye on the future. I am a little concerned. I think we are maybe setting up to sell off here. So we're doing the wick shimmy kind of through 18.1. We're getting up to 18.150, but we're putting now incrementally lower highs, and these 2 candles kind of worried me a little bit. So again, I already said this, but I'm going to say it again. If we break 18,000, that's a newer low and a lower high. The high off which we're basing is at 18.2 and 284. And then the lower high would be 18, maybe, 150, something if you really want to round it out. It wasn't 150. And then this is the local area low. And this looks like that head and shoulders that Adara was talking about, possibly on AMD. We'll have to wait and see. It's not as clean of a neckline. The right shoulder a little bit skewed, so maybe, they don't work on symmetry all that much, so who knows? But this one possibly could break down through 18,000. So keep your eye on that, but if we continue to make higher highs, especially if we retake 18.2, I think that analysis won't mean all that much. I've been keeping an eye on Taiwan Semi because it's been recovering nicely, and I've been wanting to figure out a way to get into this. Initially, I was looking at the 20 exponential to get into this. Let me just refresh the screen over here. But it did break below the 20 exponential. So I said to myself, your read on this one is not accurate. But it's now moving up and finding all sorts of resistance with 148. Now, the reason I'm interested in this is because this is also setting up as a possible head and shoulder. Look at this area initially with 148 resistance. We started that resistance from 1110 till we broke through it at 1210. So an hour worth of resistance. We work our way up into 150. That's the head. Left shoulder. Possible right shoulder. Look for a neckline break through 146. So a lot of different names are setting up in this way. We saw Adara analyze it with AMD. I'm seeing it possibly on Taiwan Semi. You're seeing it on some other names as well. So you never really know exactly what could happen here, right? So keeping an eye, you're seeing on the future, which is the other one that I was really looking at here. Possible head and shoulder on the future. Now, again, the head and shoulders pattern is a reversal pattern. So typically what we want to see before a reversal pattern is a trend that is going to reverse. So if we're seeing a head and shoulders at the top, it should be preceded by an uptrend. And that's what we got essentially since the lows that we printed this morning. That's what concerns me. Now, we know that these chart patterns are fractal in nature. They appear on different time frames depending on what, regardless of where you're looking. However, their failure rate goes higher the lower down the time frame you go. So if you saw a head and shoulders on the daily, the chances of that head and shoulders actually failing are lower than if you see it on the 1 or on the 5. Right now, I'm seeing some weakness come in on goggles. I'm seeing some weakness also come in on the future as we retrace down into 18.1. So I'm all sorts of concerned. I'm not going to lie that we could absolutely turn in the power hour and give up the majority of the gains that we were able to make back. And that's why Dan the Man Emmons is likely holding a piece for the dream. And I was joking that Dan was still holding for limit down, but quite frankly, maybe we do get that limit down. I don't know. I'm not going to make the call, but what I saw this morning and what I saw last night when I opened up my computer and when the future started trading at 6 o'clock, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Initially, we started talking, Alfred and I, my buddies and I, when we were analyzing the market, like, okay, it's more yen related. Then for some reason, I didn't even know about the Buffett sell-off because I was just super busy with the build-out this weekend, couldn't keep an eye on the market. Berkshire obviously had everything on Saturday. They talked about storm. Didn't even know about that. You come into the market, you see all this red, and I was like, oh, this feels a little different. Then I wake up this morning, and Big Spile's messaging me at 5 a.m. Everybody's messaging me at 5 a.m. from different time zones telling me the market is like going to limit down. And I was like, okay, this feels a little different. This doesn't feel like, a decent correction. We made the argument last week, I believe, that the corrections in July are absolutely normal. That is part of seasonality, and it typically doesn't retrace and break July highs until sometime in the fall, October, late October, early November, whatever it's going to be. I would submit to you probably late November this year because of the election. I didn't expect this to actually, and again, I take everything I say in context because Michael Noss kind of put the sell-off into perspective today when he showed you the daily. We're still in an uptrend. It's just, it felt a little bit different, quite frankly. I'm just speaking for myself here with respect to how much we were down in these year markets. So back to INDO. we got to 310s yet again, and yet again we did reject. So INDO got a seller at 310s. Willis, I don't know how you're playing this.
Yeah, I am. I'm still waiting for my AMD, but I'm taking some scalps in the meantime. One scalp here on the Tesla one, the Cybertrucked one, whatever you want to call it here, this TSLA. We're back above that 2150s. I like the look of it. I, like I said, did not have the best earlier morning today, so I don't have tons of risk here. I want to see us stay nicely above that 201.30. We just bounced off it. Let's see what we get. I would love at least into this 201.70s area. I'm willing to take a couple pennies here because I'm just trying to scalp. I'm trying to practice. I'm trying to get those reps in because that's the way you build your trading muscles. That's the way you build real muscles. The only way you get to Carnegie Hall is through practice, and I think that's also a pretty apt analogy given how I said I'm approaching trading lately, which is as jazz piano. You got to see how those markets are moving, got to see how all of the players in your jazz ensemble are choosing to toot their little own horns or their instruments, and that's how you decide how to get involved. You decide what style you want to take, how you want to get in, when you want to get out, how you want to play with all of these cool jazz cats. So shout out to that. Also, Tesla really not wanting to give me here any of that smoke I wanted, so I got out here at 201.30s. I thought we could maybe be breaking lower. A little bit disappointed, or Tesla pointed, if you will. Now I handled that, but it's all good. I did have a profitable scalp as well on the S&P 500, which I want to talk about. I scalped this short here as we were in uptrend. I know this was really risky, but I saw stuff in the book I liked. It was that 520 breakdown. We break down, we retest, I get involved, take about 10 pennies on this. Again, not the most profitable of trades, but it's about getting those reps in, about getting those sets in, and about working on more things. We had Ram here in the chat, not Ram, but Ram saying, smoke on AMD, please explain this. Yeah, so basically what I was saying is, I talked about my Godzilla shoulders on AMD. I think this is a spiky shouldered head and shoulders. AMD tried to prove me wrong here. We did have a bit of support at 137. I'm not taking this long though, because I still think wider, larger scale that it could be a short. I feel better about the short case at 136 or just below 136 than I do about any braver scalp long. So I'm waiting and I'm trying to save risk for that. Still happy I took the Tesla trade, and even happier with how I executed it, because if I see other scalps, I do owe it to myself to take it. But this is my big white whale trade. This is my AAPL trade, if we're talking Moby Dick. This is the whale that I want, and I'm willing to sit, reel in, and wait for this AMD head and shoulders. But also, if there's any tickers that you feel are your WAHAB, your white whale trades, your big kahuna, there's actually some big kahunas like Neil and Obi who can take you through that in the afternoon. So go to that exclamation point chat, go exclamation point, join space, $, whatever ticker you're interested in. This is brought to you by Real Trading. Their campus program is open if you live in Canada. And maybe whatever you had for lunch, maybe you had sushi, maybe you had Nobu. We're going to go from Nobu to Nobi, Neil and Obi, in the afternoon session. That was a really dumb pun that I really wanted to say. So shout out there, Neil shrugging, so good luck there. Also, Neil saying that if the market goes, he said this in the chat, if the market limit downs, he will be wearing Ramin's fluffy sweater jacket thing in the market recap. So could be an upside, silver lining if we get a limit down, question mark. I don't know.
I think you should wear it anyway, Neil. I think you should wear it anyway. I think it looks quite comfortable.
It does.
There's a trader that's like 10 feet back there. His name is Joe, and he has like a plethora of different quilts. He comes in the morning. He's like, what am I wearing today? I'm wearing brown. Okay, this quilt will do. And sometimes, he's wearing different colors, so that quilt will do. The point is, if you are short quilts, my man Joe back there is not only 10 feet tall, but he is also the quilt master. There he is, towering over everybody. We should get Wayne to stand beside Joe to show how tall Joe is. Wayne, can you stand up beside Joe? Yes, he can't hear me.
He's just talking.
All right, well, we'll stop trolling Wayne now. All right, so we're dropping here on INDO. So we're back at $3. I've got my stop at 297. If we don't hold 3 here on INDO, that is the end of my trade. There does seem to be a bit of a buyer support at 298. We're long 307s, so we'll lose 10 pennies on this if we do get stopped out. But it's been holding 3, but it's also been rejecting 310. And I've been waiting at 315 the entire time, and I haven't even gotten close to get printed because it hasn't broke 310s. So let me tell you about that. Let me also tell you about this. TENK is absolutely flying, and so is Cassava Sciences. TENK is up 192% now. I don't personally think it's tradable because the spread is quite ridiculous. The spread right now is about $1.57.
Oof.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. Yeah. It's like very Lily-esque, Adara.
It is very Lily-esque.
Yeah.
So it's a volatility.
Volatility, yeah. But the point is, this is not an $800 stock. It's a $37 stock, and it's the #1 gap scanner on my list. You'd think there'd be more market participants chiming into this one, but it doesn't feel like it's small cap kind of day. This thing's moving dollars at a time. Please, if you're going to trade this, be careful and make sure you are managing risk effectively. There's no point, in being a hero. You want to be around to be able to trade a next day, not, have your account blown up or get margin called or whatever the situation is. Anyway, Cassava Sciences continues to pump 32% or thereabouts now on only 7 million shares. So again, the shareage there is not really it's not outsized, but the price action movement here on Cassava Sciences is very good, which means what? Which means it's not being met with a wall of sellers because the volume isn't that high, yet we're really ascending here aggressively, 30 some odd percent. So there doesn't seem to be a whole bunch of, detractors to this name, at least not on the day. So we'll have to keep an eye here on SAVA 3855 high a day. I did zoom out on this and look at the chart before to figure out, where exactly we would encounter resistance. And we're above, man, that 36.5. We're well above that. Now we really got to start looking at that 41 1/3, possibly right here. Okay, so the level that we're at right now takes us all the way back to the high of January 23rd of last year. So it's been a year and a half since we've touched anything close to this price here on Cassava Sciences. The next level up is going to be that 41 1/30. That is a wick, not a closing print. To look at closing prints, we're looking at 45. Prior to that, we're kind of in a bit of a void between this general 40-ish area to that 45 area. But Cassava Science has been an absolute rocket on the day. It's just been a bit tougher to get into. For me, now ex post facto, looking at it, it looks like the easiest trade in the world. Obviously, that was not my sentiment. INDO right back into that 309 level again. So it does break 3, makes a newer low, but that flat top is still in play. It might be time for me to exit this as there's only 11 minutes left on the show before we send you the big kahunas. They're going to be taking you into power hour, and I'm going to submit to you that this is one of the most important power hours we're going to be in a really long time, because if we retrace some of these moves, oh baby, get ready, hold on to your hats. We're going to see what power hour brings, but right now the market did recover nicely. Who knows for how long though? And even if we recover today, who knows what the sentiment's going to be like for a little bit of time, right? Again, seasonality is a thing. At least I feel it is. The degree with which you retrace, though, I think was a little bit worrisome for me yesterday, because we saw the retracements in the past in July. We've been doing it every year. Every year we come in to that late summer, early spring. We sell off. We don't get back to the highs until late November, December. It's a seasonality thing. It's a real deal. This one feels a little different. Anyway. All right, let's see what everybody's talking about there in the chat. I have a few minutes left before we get up. Zach Bobek says, time to short AMD. You had a really interesting look on that.
I actually just took a short on AMD. I know I said I was waiting for that 136. Didn't have a lot of risk. Oh, I don't know. What were those? I don't know what that voice was. But I did get short here earlier than I wanted to, because I said, Adara, sure, you can have your 136 short. But if you feel good about a short earlier, you have a clear level from which to short it. What was that clear level, you may ask? That 136, I think it was 136.70s. We kept bouncing off that level. I said, Adara, you get a nose below what was this? That level, 136.70s. You get a hair below that, you go short. I got short 60s, got out 35s, took 25 pennies on AMD, but I'm not satisfied yet. No, because I think AMD can get to that 136, and I think it can break below. Got out of the trade though, because as I said, I did not have a lot of risk here. I made some decisions that will require some aggressive journaling earlier, mostly with Tesla, where I should have scalped out earlier than I did. I was sort of SPY short that was 50 pennies in the money that I let go against me for reasons. I don't know. I wanted more. I was getting greedy. No, greedy is an Ariana Grande song and it's a Tate McRae song, but it's not what you should be in the market within reason. You want to balance your fear and you want to balance your greed. And I did not in that situation, but I wanted to with this AMD trade. We got briefly below 136.30s before wicking back up. That's when I got out around 35. So that is what happened on this market. Let's see what's going on here in this AMD, though, because I do agree with the short thesis. Basically, before what Drew was kind of alluding to when he passed this off to me was, I liked this Godzilla-looking head and shoulders on AMD. We have some obvious resistance here right below that 138 level with a clear area of resistance ahead at 139. Now, I call it a Godzilla shoulder because we do have a little bit of a choppier shoulder here. And we're really taking our sweet time here. If we get right back below 30s, which to me is the most recent level of support for whatever reason, an AMD 136.30s, if we get below 30s, I am tempted to take this short into 136, but you know my big white whale level on this is 136. I have no idea if we're going to get that in these last 8 minutes of the midday. I'm tempted to think that we won't, though we do have a bit of a curl down here on the Qs and the TQs, but let's find out what goes on here in this market here, because the TQ, much like AMD, looking a little Godzilla-esque with head and shoulder, but this one, as Sharif said, it looks like it did not work out. It's right shoulder enough here. That right shoulder is not having the same kind of gains that we had in this left shoulder. It's just a little bit harder to read. That being said, our neckline is also not as clear as what we have in AMD, and we also have a bit of resistance here and support flip-flop at 53.80, which I think is worth noting. For me, whatever you want to call the neckline in this, for me, the TQ neckline is 53.80, given that clear resistance support flippity-floppity we had here. Shout out to Obi, who was shorting the TQs earlier. We're going to find out a little bit more of those trades. May the force be with everyone as they head over to Sean and Obi pretty soon. Also, your head and shoulder analysis getting a lot of love here in the chat. That is for sure, just on this market as a whole. I cannot believe we only have 7 minutes left, Sharif.
We do. Adara, I have another head and shoulder analysis. This is obviously not good for my own portfolio, as I have a lot of shares of Apple. But here it is. This is the truth. This is a head and shoulders on Apple, and it's a gap down to initiate the right shoulder. That is not good. Okay, so this is an obvious head and shoulder pattern. It doesn't have to have equidistant shoulders from the head. Doesn't work that way. The neckline is a little bit tilting to the upside, which, depending on which analyst you read, is actually a little bullish. But what really concerned me is that gap down below 215. Look at this. There's all sorts of defense at 215 on the daily. This is the daily on Apple. And then you tank. You come to 196, and then your high of the day is the low end of that consolidation zone. That is dangerous for Apple. Again, I personally am buying this for more of a fundamental reason rather than buying it on technical analysis. But from the technical perspective, this is very bearish. And I was talking to Jay Lee in the chat. Shout out to Jay. He's like, look, Uncle Warren knows you got to sell this, that, and the other. All right. Well, you know what? This is the look right now. And I'm going to absolutely admit that this is very, very bearish. However, I don't know if this is going to be the trend from now on. So let's see if it's actually the case on different charts as well. You're not really seeing that head and shoulders too much on different charts. Let's check out Tesla. Tesla had an inverse head and shoulders, actually. So I doubt that we'll see a head and shoulders. No, you're only seeing it really on Apple. I mean, I do my nightly charting every day on the daily, and that one really stood out to me like a sore thumb. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. Personally, I think it's awfully bearish that we have that key area of technical support at 215, only to kind of almost make it our way up there to 213.50, only to reject that level. I think that's quite bearish, where support flips to resistance. That's just kind of my personal opinion there. Let me know what you guys think. Adrian says, Apple is bearish, holding my short even being red. Shout out to you. Tony Price says, buy the dip. I bought some at I'm not going to say exactly how much I bought, but I did buy some today at 200, which obviously had the effect of changing my cost basis. So now my cost base is a little bit higher. Solarific says Apple is a double bottom to me. That's interesting. Let me ask you something, Solarific. Are you charting on the daily or are you doing an intraday analysis here? Because what I'm looking at was on the daily. So let me know what you think about that. What else are people talking about here in the chat? Looks like head and shoulders on INDO. Yeah, I totally forgot I was in a trade on INDO. Let's find out how we did. Oh, we did very well. Good, there we go. So we get that break through 15. Please this punch. I've only had one negative name on the day today, and that was, Apple. Funny enough, everything else has been positive.
Good to you.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's all good. Yeah, we'll see how much this can get up. I'm going to move up my stop now on INDO just to coincide with my entry. Otherwise, we're going to see if we can get possibly here the $0.25 on Indo. Yeah, so pleased with this. Here come 20s. All right, so we're moving up nicely. A bit of a seller here on 20 as the size shows up. Down into 19s we go on the ask. So we'll pack our patience with this one. But yeah, INDO still giving you a trade, guys. 38 2/3 here, Adair.
Yeah, I mean, what a day it has been. You know, so many exciting things to look at and talk about here. I'm still looking at my AMD as AMD gets very close to that 136.35. Really happy with how we scalped out of that 25 penny short scalp. But you guys know the trade I'm really waiting for. This is my snack. This is my appetizer, okay? That was my hors d'oeuvres. That was my tapas. The real trade, the meaty trade here for AMD, if she'll have me, is that 136 breakdown. Do I want that smoke? Oh my gosh, I do. This is like the mac and cheese trade for me. This is like the big meal. This is that, you know, I really like mac and cheese. It's the protein, it's the bread and butter. It is what I want. I don't think I'll get it, but as we get close to that 136, I'm watching what we do with the book at 136. AMD, are you ready for me? Because here I come. I don't care if you're ready. I'm ready to come for you if you break that 136 decisively. I didn't think I would get this opportunity in the midday. I said, oh, I don't know if we'll actually get this. But we're looking here for a little bit below 136, around 135.90s. That is what I want. That is the smoke in which I am deeply interested. That is what I want here from this AM dispensary. Let's see if we get what we want here on this chip. But let the chips fall where they may. Crowd up 2.6%. Cloud emoji, says Ricky Peters. Yeah, CrowdStrike has certainly been striking the longs with a great opportunity. Oh my God, CrowdStrike needs to be paying better attention to you tomorrow. Resistance support flip just below 220s. I talked about that, but also another one now coming in at 222.60s. Some aggressive journaling and charting to be aware of here on CrowdStrike. AMD, you were at 135.90s. Is it time to go short? Are we breaking below? Yeah, I think so. I think we are. Let's get involved in 95s. I don't know if we'll get 95s. Let's try 94s. Oh, let's try 95s. We're going to have a smaller position here because I don't have all of that much risk because decisions were made. We're excited for some aggressive journaling. If we break decisively above 136 here, I'll get out. I have no qualms. I am qualmless. But you know what? You do miss 100% of the opportunities you don't take. And given how much I was obsessed with this AMD trade, I literally waxed poetic about it on and off for the entire last hour of this show, more or less. I absolutely feel like I owe it to myself to attempt this AM dizzle. My level I'll be watching here is going to be around 135.45. That's going to be about a 50 penny winner. That would be basically that previous area of resistance, which is why I like it. AMD, you're below 136. I like that. But what I like even more is if you scooted yourself a little bit lower, just a little bit. Let's see if we can do that crab walk to the downside on this AMD. We cannot decisively reclaim 136, so that I certainly like. What is else happening over here? We've got, AMD, we're pushing higher here. Let's get out as we get to that 136.20. Trade didn't work out. Happy I took it. Definitely down on the days. It's not my best day, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens tomorrow. I can't believe it's already 159, guys. I hope you had a great day here on this show. I had a lot of fun looking at these markets. Definitely, like I said, not my best trading yet. We wanted to shout out Sharif for his awesome trades there. We definitely not puff passing on that Indo. We had Will Status in the chat as well. And Indo, in a couple seconds, then we're going to go to another kind of green. It's going to be the green screen with Sharif. And we'll see the big kahunas, Obi and Neil themselves. Right now, though, let's talk about Sharif and that green screen. We will see you guys tomorrow at the same bat time and the same bat channel. Let go.
Welcome to the Afternoon Rundown, the show where you decide what we talk about it every day. Sean's on vacation, but guess who's here? Obi. He's with Neil. They're locked, they're loaded, they're ready to take the trades as decided by you. So make sure to join the Midday show on How to Trade with Adira and I and get into that chat and vote